Good evening, one and all. Welcome to the April Fool's Day edition of Show Business. I come to you, as always, as Charles, otherwise known as CPO. We have a full staff tonight, and Fuego is running late. So first, we have Lindsay.
Hello. I enjoyed the intro this time. The juxtaposition of the Godzilla scream with the freezing over New York. Well done, sir.
My check is in the mail, or your check is in the mail.
There's checks, there's mail. It's like.
Also, we have Chauncey. Chauncey, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. Happy Monday.
Indeed. Is it though?
No, never. But
and joining us again is Grey Poupée. How are you, Grey?
Hey, I'm doing great. Happy to be here, man. And yeah, that intro may be even more fitting than you think. That juxtaposition isn't out of nowhere. They have very similar climaxes.
Oh, no, spoiler. Yeah, so we are going to be doing Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire spoilers later. I will preempt that with this. Chauncey may be taking off a little bit early. Fuego might be joining a little late. So, we're rotating staff, but we'll figure it out. So the week that was, the only heavy hitter was Godzilla X Kong, the new Empire, which got really close. It hit 80 million, which is the second biggest for a 3-day this year, the calendar year, that is 2024. And Grey, can you, without spoiling, can you synopsisize it?
Sure. Yeah, there's a Godzilla, and it's running amok. It's living in the Coliseum and stuff. So yeah, you got to send a monkey to save it, and then it turns out that the monkey has trouble of his own. So he's got a rival monkey, and that rival monkey has its own version of a Godzilla, but this time it's frozen. So and then somehow you got to get Kong and Godzilla to team up to fix the Hollow Earth world against this rival monkey, and it's Godzilla. And then, there's a heartwarming family tale in between there. So, yeah, there's a surprise who helps get everything going, which is, kind of nice. It's another one of those throwback.
Mothra?
Remember this? Yeah. Mothra is kind of the key.
Sorry, I guessed that. I honestly guessed that because I ship Mothra and Godzilla. So
100%.
Mothra is the only one who can get Godzilla to do things. So when he said that, I knew. I was like, oh, they brought Mothra on.
Mothra, the magical mediator. It worked out perfectly. And
I was like, oh, Mothra's in this.
There's fun little things too. There's a monkey glove, so that's always great. But
I do like the monkey glove in the trailers. It looks pretty fun.
It reminded me a lot of that Rampage movie where you've got the different video game, not necessarily the movie, but we did already get that in movie form, is what I was going to say. But I don't know. If you like that kind of thing, it's exactly what you expect. It's a good popcorn flick if you're into that thing. Yeah, it's not breaking any new ground, or it isn't the most intellectual film, but it's kind of pretty for monster movie that are fighting.
So wait, cool. So which one has the Infinity Gauntlet? Is it the?
So that's the real Kong, and Kong's getting a little bit older in this movie. Yeah, so they need to bring on the next Kong, and we get introduced to him. Titan is Doug. Is apparently what the action figure is called. I don't think they ever name him toys. In the flick. Yeah.
Why else would we do things other than toys? Although Monkey Glove sounds like a ska band, but if you change it to Gorilla Gauntlet, it sounds like a hardcore
it gets
band.
Pretty metal. Yeah.
It does get pretty metal. All right. So oddly enough, I was looking at the stats for the franchise going as far back as Godzilla 2014. This is the second strongest performer. And I highlighted anything that was in the COVID era. And you look at those opening weekends, it's either May or March. Right. But without Godzilla X Kong, it was like diminishing returns. And they just keep throwing more out there, and I was wondering why do they keep making these movies? And it's because it makes a hell of a lot of money, and the rest of the world really enjoys these movies. They do 2/3 of their total grosses in international, which is fascinating. I don't know very many movies where you can say that internationally the movies are making 2/3 of its grosses back. But yeah,
I think a couple of Transformers movies did that, didn't they? Or at least kind of came close to that.
Yeah. And the thing about that is you don't need to know English. Like, I think that's the catch with these movies, where I mean,
very universal. And that's like you don't need a lot of translation on screen to kind of get what's going on.
And is that why minus one? Was it -1, -0?
Got -1, yeah.
Is that why that didn't do too well? Because that was more of a drama, right?
I think it did pretty well. Well, I don't know.
As far
I
as
guess
Americans
you're
are
more of the
concerned.
box. I think you're more of the box office guy, but I know, like, in my town, like, it was sold out like every time for both versions of it that came through. I don't know. I guess it is kind of a much smaller release, but those who saw it were just raving about it. So I don't know.
And it won Academy Awards.
Yeah.
I don't think you're getting the same thing out of that. I don't think it's as much about the monsters fighting and destroying the city, but perhaps I'm wrong. I mean, it is a part of it, but I don't know. This just didn't have like that extra layer or messaging put on it, at least not for me.
Yeah. Oh, what you mean? This new one, this Godzilla X Kong?
Yes. The other Empire movie, Monkey Glove.
Yeah, it's just Empire month. Frozen Empire, New Empire, Queensryche's Empire, just all of it. Get it all out there.
Wasn't it done by like? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, please.
Oh no, wasn't it done by like a different? Is it done? All of this done by the same company though? Like I feel like. The ones who did, I feel like the ones who did -1 was more connected to like the original,
that's
like
Toho.
like, and so you had that more probably less Americanized, because like when the original came out, it had a whole bunch of messaging in it about the government, about nuclear testing, and then when it came over to America, they gutted a lot of that out, and it wasn't completely different, but it was different, right? Like just what they were trying to get a hold of. So I wonder if -1 had a little bit more of that, and that might have been. I'm not saying we're stupid, like Americans. Like we don't want that deeper stuff, but I feel like the marketing and everything,
Yeah,
for sure. And this kind of has weird government things on it. I mean, like there is the whole Hollow Earth thing and keeping that secret and stuff, but it's really more conspiratorial rather than kind of layers of symbolism, if you will. So I don't know. I think it's just different things.
Sorry. Is the podcast guy still in it? From
he is. Okay, he gets to actually go to Hollow Earth. So awesome now.
Wow.
Sorry, spoilers. But you get to experience it again through new eyes. So that's kind of fun.
Okay. Well, I got interesting numbers here. So -1 was made on a budget from 10 to 15 million, and it grossed worldwide 112. 56 domestically, 56 internationally, so kind of like perfectly down the middle. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, what I was going to say. So that -1 is Toho, which is the Japanese copyright owner and creator. Here over there in the States, it's Warner Brothers that has both Godzilla and Kong, and they've kind of Fast and the Furious it. So it's far less. It's more toys than it is message. I would venture to say that. I would hazard a guess that the people that do enjoy -1 probably aren't, because it's inverted. Americans don't like anything with subtitles, and because it's more focused on story and subtext and messaging, that it doesn't draw audiences the same way that something like something you can sell a popcorn bucket with does. And I'm not hating on it. I have like 5 tin buckets behind me. I'm as much a sucker as the next guy, but I think there's something to that nobody wants to read, apparently. Show me my pictures. I don't want to read a book.
Well, what's his name say after a Parasite won Best Picture? Like so many good films are held back from people because like an inch of text on the screen. Like,
yeah, it's a shame. So Dice brought it up before, which was what Gray said. Hello, Dice.
Yeah, I was being real dumb there where I referenced the movie first. That was just a slip of the tongue. Of course, the classic game was first.
But the funny thing is, the game was mimicking the movie, the original old school Godzilla v Kong. So this is like art imitating art, imitating art, imitating art. So
that's true. I definitely didn't go back to the real Inception, but yeah.
So I did a little bit of a clickbaity thumbnail and implied that Godzilla X Kong, whatever. See, I had V Kong there, was a really strong March weekend. That is not true. There it is, 10th all time. Dune Part 2 still has. Now these aren't openings because you'll see Beauty and the Beast up there twice. And the Batman is the strongest March weekend in the age of COVID.
Damn right.
Yeah.
I forgot I have a DC one here.
Hey, that movie was great, man. I don't care. DC Marvel fan, that movie was awesome.
Well, I mean, it's littered with DC. Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, all that.
Twice, actually. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, are we getting back to normal? Are people starting? Oh, right. Good segment, guys.
That's your answer. No.
I mean, it's like we're heading that direction, but I don't know. I'm starting to think we're maybe never going to get back to what we were. I don't think a lot of people are really down for theaters anymore, just in general.
Well, the Alamo Draft House. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Lindsay.
No. I was actually going to bring that up. The Alamo Draft House just went up.
Yeah, that's up for sale. And I think, wasn't there a poll? I don't know if I shared it in the group chat. Like there was a poll, right, where people were saying that, they like sitting at home at times watching it on streaming. And I just think we're in a time where there's new behaviors and there's an idea of trying to really hold on to this old behavior as though we've never had a change, right? Like this idea that this has always been a thing, and it hasn't, right? Like it's been probably the longest running thing, but I think it's having to contend with the fact that there's so many different factors. The cost of going to the theater can cost money, like people are dropping, especially if they have kids, they're taking their kids there or whatever like that, or just themselves and somebody else. That could be like $50 some odd dollars or more, and you're not even sure you're gonna love the movie. Can you imagine like knowing you can't be like, I didn't like this, can I get this back? So I think it's not so much that, and it's at the same time you had that other poll that came out for millennials and Zers that we want more original content, right? But at the same time, Hollywood is risk adverse to new content at times because they're like, we may not make this money back. But I think we are too, to a certain degree, because we're like, do I really want to pay that much for a movie I'm not completely sure of? Or do I want to wait till it comes to streaming because I already pay for that service? So I don't know. I think a few factors would have to change for there to be a real shift towards not just big budget movies, because we can say, oh, this came out, it's so movies are back, but that's still a big budget type film. So it's like, I feel like the way we can measure it is when we have more mid-tier films that are doing really good numbers, like a Hangover movie or something, again, where you have it so like it's a comedy, it's not a whole bunch of VFX, it's just like, and people are like, the cast and the story. I'm going to go to the theater and pay for that. Yeah. And I don't know if we've had that example yet.
That's fair. Gray?
Yeah, I just don't know if you can put that genie back in the bottle, so to speak. Like, I don't know. People have had the taste of, you can watch these mid-tier ones at home now. And we're actually getting some okay ones. I haven't hated a few of those that have come out recently, but I don't know. I've had a better experience watching some of those than I have in the theater recently. But yeah, I don't think we're quite back. I don't know if we're ever going to go quite back to how it was, but I don't know. Something like Dune 2 really shows that like there is a need for that and that experience, and it is unique. Like, you're not going to get that same experience watching it at home. At least I hope you're not. But I don't know. I think there's a need for it, but I hope it's not just going to shift to kind of a specialty thing, and it would just be these giant ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And does the success of Godzilla X Kong, does that kind of thwart the mentality here? Because it almost seems like it's in spite of people wanting new things. I mean, you look at that list, with the exception of Bob Marley, which is it's about a person. Mean Girls is a remake. Like, everything there has been either done before or is a sequel. It's you have one biopic and the rest is just franchises. Do you almost have to get people to go? I mean, you brought up a hell of a point, Chauncey. Do you have to try to convince people to go against their better judgment and be like, we need you to risk it here?
Kinda.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, it's just kind of like because it's so many, it's nuanced, right? But it's like, I mean, what can really convince people to go see mid-tier like movies that aren't like huge things? A lot of time it used to be star power, right? Like, you had that thing like last year where you had Julia Roberts and George Clooney, and I think it did okay. It was a romance movie. It did all right. But I don't, because then that gets to the question of, do we have a generation of movie stars who aren't doing big time movies, but doing like those romances and dramas that really draw those kind of people in? And, that's a whole debate, because people say, oh, it's Timothy Chalamet or whatever like that. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
Timothy Chalamet.
That was Timothy Chalamet. Timothy Chalamet leading an M. Night Shyamalan movie. There you go.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so.
Oh my gosh! But you know what I mean? Like, he just struck a deal with Warner Brothers for like multiple stuff. You have Margot Robbie, who's amazing, and she does some great stuff too. I think she can be a draw, but she does bigger films. So it's like, once again, where's the example at? And I think if you had it so there was like a perfect mix of like a star that could actually translate into the box office, that didn't need a big time movie behind them to translate into the box office, we'd have a better example. Because then you'd have, on the strength of it, people being like, well, I know this doesn't have a whole bunch of special effects, but I really want to see this person, and I don't want to wait a time, like, I don't want to wait a month. But that's also the other thing about that, right? I feel like there are times, like, I think it was Imaginary, that one with Chauncey as the teddy bear. There was Imaginary. There was
other people don't like it. I like that movie. Yeah,
there's a whole thing around that movie. The Book of Clarence, and there's a couple where it was all the thing about they're in the theater, and the next thing you know, I'm getting a press release that they're coming to digital. And I'm like, didn't they just come out like a week ago? I mean, how are you going to incentivize people to watch some of these movies when they literally come out just a couple of weeks after? It used to be a time where movies would stay in the theater for like a year, right? Like, you had to wait a minute before you saw them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So people aren't forced. They can wait. A lot of people are like, I can wait this out, because they only have to wait a couple of weeks to a month or two.
Yeah, we talked about it during COVID, that the theater industry was just held over a barrel, and a lot of these companies cashed in because Disney basically had a monopoly on how many screens they wanted to throw on things. And between Warner and Universal, I think one of them is 30 days and one of them is 17 days. And with the two of them having their own streaming service, I don't think there's such thing as an appointment movie theater movie anymore. I mean, there's maybe a handful, but I mean, people went out and saw Oppenheimer and Barbie. They both came out the same weekend last year. Other than that, it's just Dune appears to be that this year. I don't know what good is it that something like Godzilla X Kong is that. Like, no shade on that movie. If you're a fan of it, that's great. But
maybe it's just showing that they are hungry for a movie that is worth seeing. Like, I don't know, maybe Dune kind of whetted the taste buds, so to speak, or something. So
Sure.
Give us something. But I don't know. I don't think it's worth, like, wasn't it one of the biggest March openings ever or something like that? I know you had it as 10th, but Godzilla X Kong or whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, I don't know that's the movie that I would say deserves to be up there looking at the rest of the list, but fair enough.
Well, a lot of people would argue that Captain Marvel doesn't deserve to be third, but it happened.
Haters.
Hey, I defend that movie too, okay? Like,
haters, just haters, man.
Right? Marketing was strong on that. They really heavily implied you needed to see that movie to understand the next thing. So it was during the peak. Like, it makes sense to me why that one's, yeah.
So actually, a quick question.
No.
Okay.
If Chauncey could do it, I'm going to do it. No. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So back in the day, Movie Pass. Part of the reasons that people resisted Movie Pass a lot was because they were worried that when it died, and they all knew it was going to die, that would negatively affect theaters, because then people would go from, I can just see whatever I want for free. Okay, fine. I go to, but I got to pay for this now. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Did that come true when Movie Pass died? Could that? I mean, like, I know what was like 3 million at their max. That's not the most, but like that's a lot of people. Like, if and like 40% of that has a different view on going to the theaters now because they have to pay for it versus back in the day. That's what 1.4 million people, something like that. Like, that's 1.7. I don't know. I'm bad at math, but
it's that. And then when they were tanking, AMC did A-List, and that was like an even better version, and AMC had money, and it was like what, 3 a week or something like that.
Yeah, I still do it.
I had it initially. I was like, wow, you can watch that many, and
even last year when I wasn't seeing a lot of movies, I still had it just in case I wanted to go see a movie.
I was fine with the trade-off, because the theater industry, it's all about overcharging for food, and once you get in the door, they don't care about you past the concession stand. Right. And I was fine with that. Listen, you charge me $20 a month for what could be 8 movies. I'm fine with that. Let me have some chicken and soda, please. Thank you.
Yeah, there was a minute with Movie Pass, I was paying almost $60 a month, and I was happy to do it, because if I saw 4 movies, I was coming out ahead. Like,
I think that's part of it too. I think the problem is the theater industry. Like, I don't know what the hell I saw that between Dune, Ghostbusters, and Kong X, whatever the hell the name of it is, the new Godzilla universe movie.
X gonna give it to you.
Yeah, they have merch, like shirts, toys, all this other shit that's just being sold at the movie theater with a ridiculous markup, because well, they got to make their money somehow. And like, that's, I don't want to say pathetic, because like, if they can make the money, then sure. It's like this impulse point of sale thing. That are you a movie theater or are you a toy store? What's happening now?
Remember movie theaters had arcades? Can we go back to arcades?
Oh, yeah. I was dying for that the other day. I showed up way too early for one, and they had the wall of toys, but no arcade. I want both.
Right? Used to Marvel versus Capcom back in the day. That was my shit. Like,
yeah, exactly. That one was amazing too.
You are killing the industry, Scott. It's your fault. Scott is responsible.
Bringing
outside food and drink.
Remember, some of them used to check people's bags too, for like you couldn't. How dare you? And that's kind of messed up, right? I felt like, isn't that like against the law now? Because it's like, what if someone has like a medical condition, but they can't buy a drink or something.
Wait,
Like
what?
they should be able to bring something in. I don't know if it's against. It should be,
Oh,
but like
that.
wouldn't it make sense? It's like, hey, I've got these chips that I bought from here because I'm not gonna buy them for $4 at your thing, and I need to take them with my medicine or something.
These are medically prescribed chips, damn it.
Right? Like I don't know. Like at this point, yeah, it's yeah. They just did the movie theater. What is it? Cinecon. Is that what it's called?
That's what it should be. The Cinecon. No.
I don't know what it's called.
For this movie, yeah.
Yeah, like their convention. Did that happen?
No, that's Show West.
Yeah.
I don't know when that happened. I think that's over the course of the like late summer, early fall, if I'm not mistaken.
I was just wondering if like any like new decisions or whatever came out of that, because that's like their like Justice League, right? Like they all get together and try to figure out how to still exist.
Yeah.
They should.
Been out of practice. I would have looked into that. But I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. It's better than a no, but it's an I don't know.
Let me look it up.
The word no is still in there, Charles.
Oh, are you talking about NATO? The national?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of what it was called too. NATO. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, because
which is crazy. They're called NATO.
For them.
It's like really.
They're like, oh, they don't have the copyright to that. Okay, well, we're NATO now too.
It's like talk about like self-grandiose, like national, right? Regional cinema. NATO convention.
National
Association of Theater Owners.
Yes.
Okay. Did it say when it happened? I think it's at Show West.
A theater. Okay. Well, we can keep talking. I'll find out.
Chauncey's going to be on a list for looking up NATO.
Right. I'm already on list.
But let's be honest, everyone's on some list somewhere. Like,
not me. No, I am. My initials put me on a list.
No.
Yeah. So this weekend. Oh no! Before this weekend. Speaking of comic book properties and the fast turnaround rate, Madam Web came out mid-February.
Wow.
Has not hit $100 million worldwide yet. Is available to rent at home.
It's got that Sydney Sweeney boost right now. She's on top of the world. Do you think that'd be doing something?
Is she on top of the world? I mean, like, or are they just cramming her down our throats?
I don't mind.
I'm sure, but I think it's one of those really contrived It Woman type things right now.
Well,
okay.
Yeah,
very much orchestrated.
Also, It Woman. I would watch a superhero movie called It Woman. That sounds sick.
And she even threw it under the bus. She was like, "Well, I was an actor who got paid," and her whole thing was the way she got Immaculate made was by doing that. She was like, "I had to get that made before I could get Immaculate made," because she like helped produce Immaculate and stuff like that.
Yeah, she's a producer on that.
Yeah,
and it took her years to get it done.
So she basically threw Madam Web under the bus, and I think Madam Web is one of those issues, the same as like the Harbor, David Harbour's Hellboy, his version of Hellboy, where you actually had a decent movie, but I think just like public sentiment at times, just like it can be a use for good, it goes into everyone was just really rad. Same thing that happened with the Marvels. Everyone who had a platform or whatever was just really going hard on it to the point where, I fully expected to do well on streaming, just like the Hellboy one did. Yeah, just like The Rock's Black Adam is top 10 on Netflix right now. Considered a bomb. Morbius, considered a bomb, but you get it on streaming and people don't have to, because of public sentiment, think everything's horrible. They'll be willing to watch it. And suddenly everyone's like, whoa, this was really great. So I mean, I don't think that's going to be
Morbius?
said that about Madam Web, but to a certain degree. Yes, when Morbius, I was made a believer. When Morbius came out,
alone.
When Morbius came to Netflix and I finally got to watch it, I even said, I was like, everyone was ragging on this movie, and it's actually pretty decent. It's like a 90s comic book movie, you know, and people were hating on it. I was like, this was like, the Palon was totally overdone. So,
Chauncey, you're not allowed to talk about comic book movies anymore. I believe you're a shill.
I'm a shill.
Not wrong about.
You know what?
Everyone wanted to hate Madam Web before it ever came out.
Exactly.
Like all the coverage I saw, everyone was hating it. Like I kept telling everyone, like, okay, but that's a cool concept. It's like Final Destination, but with superheroes. That could be so amazing. I don't like the execution of it, but I did hate how everyone was hating it before it even got
Was it actually, because I'm part of the problem, I didn't see it. I'm sorry, Madam Web, I failed you. Was it actually like a horror movie, or did it play into the horror? Because like I want to see like a horror musical. I want to see like a horror western. I want to see a real horror, like, I mean, a superhero western, a superhero musical, like
Logan.
Yeah, Logan. That's true. And Logan was freaking amazing.
Indeed, it was.
There was a dusting of it, but it was not horror, really. It does not tip to there, but there are some dark moments, but really, no, not horror. But I think that concept would be amazing, you know, like a real horror Final Destination, but with superheroes. That could be amazing. I would love to see that.
Sorry. What happened first? Madam Web with Dakota Johnson's press kit where she seemed less than enthusiastic to plug that movie, or the critics
the hate was around before. Oh, I don't know about the critic scores. I know people were hating it since the trailer dropped, and that came after the trailer, so I'm not sure about the critic scores. I don't think they had many screenings of that prior to it. Like it was kind of, I think there was like I don't know. I don't think they actually had any screenings. I probably want to double check that. But if I remember right, it was there wasn't a lot of critics had any sort of thing to say about it before it dropped. And then it was kind of what it was.
Interesting.
Yeah. BMO, good point. I won't go to a theater for a 4 out of 10. And that's a good point. No, go ahead.
I was just saying, it really just speaks to, as much as people will say, you know, critics, no one listens to critics, people pay attention to critics still. That's why Rotten Tomatoes continues to get the foot traffic or the site traffic that it does, because the majority viewer will, because they're thinking about what am I going to spend my money on, they will go to Rotten Tomatoes to see. And if it's looking low, they're like, listen, do I really want to take a chance with my $50 this weekend on something that's getting panned by multiple people? And it really shows the power that it can have. Which
that score is gospel to some people,
whether for better or worse, this Rotten Tomatoes can have. But yeah, no, it's a shame, you know. But then you also have people who they don't like anything Marvel connected to Sony, because they are firm believers that Sony needs to give up any Marvel connection they have and hand it over to Disney or whatever. So they suck.
But so I can't think of a movie. I mean, the Marvel stuff from pardon me, from last year and the year before it, Doctor Strange, Ant-Man, they had strong opens, but they just petered out.
Doctor Strange still made like $900 million, didn't it? Like,
all right, well, maybe the first weekend was overinflated. I don't remember, but
I mean, Ant-Man did not do well. I mean,
and it had a strong opening too. So, do you think maybe the public is tired in regards to comic book property?
I think they want good comic book properties. I mean, like, I don't know. Everyone was kind of set up, or at least everything that I saw in my timeline was everyone was going to hate X-Men 97. Everyone seems to be giving that like glowing reviews. I think they're still interested in comic book movies. I just think they got to be good. It's, you know, we've had a oversaturation of just kind of mediocre as far as a lot of people are concerned. And I don't know. I think they would pay the money for the good thing. You know, I think Dune 2 was an experience that people actually wanted to see. I think it's been a while for Marvel.
So the early hate against something is that doing more harm than good? Especially if, you know, a movie's not out yet and there's like usually this weeks and months of this like anti whatever campaign, and it's based on a trailer, it's based on something. How much to blame is like this internet culture?
It's definitely an interesting question because, like, again, like Miss Marvel or Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel's a whole other thing. Captain Marvel, like, there was a lot of hate behind that, but that still pulled like 1.1 billion, I think. That was you know, at the peak of Marvel, and it was tied into the Endgame and Infinity War, but that's still a lot of money considering how much people hated that movie.
Third strongest March weekend
ever.
Yeah, ever.
Ever.
I think it also depends on. I think it also depends on who's doing the negative thing, and then who the actual material is for, right? Because, like, thinking about like Captain Marvel, like you had a lot of people who were review bombing Captain Marvel before it came out because Brie, they didn't like what she was saying, and oh my gosh, this isn't good, woman, and I think,
exact quote.
Yes. And I think what you had was that Captain Marvel was appealing to people who weren't them necessarily, those people who had such an issue about that. So you know, you had that, and so I think those people who weren't going to see it anyway didn't go see it, but the people who wanted to see it, who weren't hating on it for those reasons, went to go see it. And luckily those were a good amount of people, you know. I think with things like Madam Web and stuff, you have it so, you know, I mean, I don't really know who Madam Web was for. I mean, you had, you know, Sydney Sweeney, like a thing of her upside down, and we all know who her audience is. It's guys and things like that. And then you had a whole bunch of guys being like, this is crap, you know? So if the audience that it's for is tainted, yeah, they're not going to go see it. So I think it depends. I think it definitely depends, but I definitely think no matter what, you know, there's this idea that any publicity is good publicity. I don't necessarily think that's the case in our new digital age of like the internet, because too much of that can sour people's feelings on it. But I think what we also see when these things eventually come to streaming, funny enough, that really puts that public sentiment to the test later. Like with, I know I say it as a joke, but like with Morbius, where it was like, this was the worst thing ever, some people were saying. But then when enough people saw it online, they were like, it's not the best movie ever. Of course not. But it's like, it wasn't garbage, you know? So unfortunately, it happens after they leave the box office. So I think that's the problem there.
That window is so tight too now.
Yeah.
I mean, if certain streaming is going to be 17 days after release, I mean, Madam Web, it's had weeks, 17,000, 5,000, 2,700. The thing hasn't been out 2 months yet. It's been out a month and a half, and it's died so quickly. Oh, it's only on 53 screens. All right, well. Made $2,686 yesterday.
Well, how many movies have you made that are on 53 screens
That's
right
fair.
now, Steve? Yeah,
That's
exactly. Fair. Yeah.
It's the studio industry. I'm not speaking ill of Madam Web. I know how hard it is to make movies. So
yeah. And also, for the record, Dakota Johnson's a queen. I absolutely love her.
Yes.
No shade at her.
To kind of highlight something you brought up, Chauncey, if we're to stand for actresses and actors, you brought up the attraction that Sydney Sweeney has. So in the end of 2023, you have an R-rated comedy where, you know, it's a romantic comedy, but they talk about sex. There's nudity in there. I think the men are nude more than the women. So you have that. You have Sydney Sweeney in a very adult-oriented romantic comedy. Now she's in Madam Web, not as the lead and as a teenager. So it's almost like, yeah, you're playing into that audience where she's really known for Euphoria, which is another movie that's
TV show or streaming series.
yeah, TV series. It's R-rated.
Yeah.
I mean, if it were a movie, it would be R-rated. So is that, well, I mean, Sony makes some questionable decisions all the time anyway. I mean, they re-released Morbius because it was
That's what I'm
such a big
saying.
deal.
Yeah.
They're
But
geniuses.
listen, they knew. They were fighting for it.
Everybody was busy that first weekend. We just need to give us another chance.
Morbius more too close to that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want Morbid to be added to the dictionary so badly. Like, I don't even know what it would mean. I just want it in there.
Yeah. So what you're saying is the public isn't tired of comic property just yet.
Mhm.
I don't. I mean,
Invincible's doing really well on Amazon.
yeah.
That's not a film.
Well,
Yeah, but
yeah, and it also has a fan base behind it, right? Because like of the comic books and stuff. But I think people want what was being said before. Like, people want something that's good, front facing good. Like, it's good on its own, not just, hey guys, comic book movie. Hey guys, you've read this comic movie, come watch it. Like that, they need something more, right? And I think that's why you do have instances where we may see, I think, movies that aren't necessarily considered, I mean, because when we say comic book movies, let's be real, we're talking Marvel or DC a lot of the time. People are always just thinking Marvel or DC, but there's like Spawn, there's I actually think Spawn is under there's Spawn, there's The Crow that's coming out that looks really good. Yeah, there's other movies that could be really well done, but they'll never be placed under that category because people don't see it that way. And I think that's a really good example of, I think, on some level, people are tired maybe of the Marvel movies. I don't think people are tired of movies that have a person who happens to have superpowers, though. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think people want something different, though. And I think what's been happening, particularly with Marvel, is they got into a formula and they started kind of putting out a more formula than story. And then picking out. So it's like paint by the numbers. And people are tired of the paint by the numbers comic book movies. They want a good movie, period.
For sure. And sadly, that's kind of how they built that brand, because they did the same thing to like Favreau after Iron Man 1, and they did the same thing to Kenneth Branagh after Thor 1. They just announced the movie before talking to the director, before getting anything in works. It's just product will be out at this time. It worked when they got the Russo brothers in there, but I don't know. Aside from that, they really haven't given anyone like an arc for it. It's just kind of one off. And apparently there's, always the fight for studio control, including people getting locked out of the edit. So that just kind of sucks.
And also there's the classic when they should have, kind of slowed down a little bit after Endgame. They ramped up instead of, they started releasing more than they ever had before. After
they should have took a break and they just didn't. And people were like,
I agree with what you're saying, Chauncey, but I feel like, I mean, we'll talk about Ghostbusters later. We're going to do a spoiler on Frozen Empire, so there's a warning again. I have something in regards to that. Something I've seen is very conflicting results as far as their reviews for Ghostbusters, and it's something that I can't help but think about. Like, some video somebody released in the last 2 weeks or so where they rewrote the Star Wars sequels, and
original thought.
The fact of the matter is, if you look at the Star Wars sequels, as far as what the studio is really caring about, it did beyond okay as far as money is concerned, because that's what they care about, is money. But there's so many people that, like, it almost seems like it's like the diehards that are like, this sucked. I mean, because there's these movies, same thing with Ghostbusters. Again, I'll get to that later, but it goes back to Godzilla X Kong, where I haven't seen anybody say anything positive. Granted, it's only been 3 days, but is the fact that these movies that are making money is not really what is going to A, have any staying power, B, really anything that new word of mouth, the internet buzz, it's not going to get any of that going. Is that bad? It's almost like to get better stuff, we're like putting all the weight on the shoulders of the customers. Like, all right, if you want something good, you're going to have to pay and see it in the movie theater.
Oh, kitty cat. I think they need to. Well, one thing that they could definitely try is they just, how do you put the prestige back into the theater? How do you make it like?
I think
like is it
Christopher
like,
Nolan? I think
Nolan can do it. Clearly,
Tarantino,
Denis Villeneuve can kind of do it with Dune. Tarantino.
They're like experiences. I don't know. Is every film going to be like that experience, or are we just past that and now we'd rather stream it? Like, I don't know. I wish. I don't know. It's a double-edged sword, I guess, because I do like the convenience of watching a bunch of like quality stuff, like Roadhouse. I don't know if I would have gone and seen that in theaters, but I really enjoyed it. And usually, like those streaming movies, I don't necessarily enjoy, but I don't know. I kind of like the option now, but sadly, I'm gonna wait until there's an actual experience to go see it in the theater. I didn't for Kong. Apparently, I was one of the millions who went to go see it, but I don't know. Monkey Glove just had me. No, it was just a family thing for Easter, so kind of worked out. But other than that, I don't know. I don't think I would have seen that. I think I'm waiting for an experience, and that's why I love Dune 2. And I actually went back a second time because first time I just got good tickets, but they weren't the IMAX thing. I needed to have that experience, and it was great.
I guess one question is like, are these streaming services actually making money? I know it's the age-old thing with Netflix, but like, are they? Like Uber Eats and all those like delivery app companies, none of those have made a profit yet.
They don't make movies though.
But they're also operating technically in the red and only based off investments of people and what they're speculatively worth. So like, is there like some kind of like movie equivalent thereof? Like or for like streaming? Like I guess that's fair. Yeah.
It's a 1v1 right there. Movie Pass.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. No, it's just you would think that a movie gets released in theaters, it becomes big and it pulls in hundreds of millions of dollars would be better than just something you release on streaming and gets talked about for a few weeks, but maybe not. Like, am I wrong there?
I mean, I think if anything, perhaps, I mean, if anything, it's going to delay everything. But I think movie theaters really need to wow in some way that gets people to go. It's like Chauncey said, $50. People are really going to think twice about gambling, essentially, on whether or not they're going to have a good time for 2 hours and whatever, and get a babysitter, all this other shit. Whereas there are these movies there are these Netflix premieres that are kind of perfect for what they are. Roadhouse on Amazon is like, it could not be a more perfect release because it's if you have Prime, it's there on when it's out.
But don't tell that to the director. He hated the fact, right, that it was going straight to streaming. He was boycotting it.
Oh my
Because
God.
he was like, I made this movie to go up on the big screen, and then Amazon made him think it was going to do that, and then they, I guess, felt business wise it was better online.
Well, yeah, that's shitty if that's what's happening.
So bad, yeah.
But did he really think that Roadhouse was going to be this dominant theater experience?
I mean, Roadhouse back in the day did well in the theaters. I mean, that's why right? I mean, you had movies back in the day that Jean-Claude Van Damme had hella movies where he just kicking ass, he's just kicking butt, you know what I mean? Or
shit, fuck.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like you had, well, okay, not him, because that was like had like high speed. I'm talking about, okay, Arnold's Jean-Claude, where it was fighting, mainly fighting type movies or whatever like that. A lot of testosterone going on and, you know, things like that. And they did well. He might have thought, hey, this might get the guys and the, you know, the women in the seat. You know, he might have thought, he might have hoped. And it kind of goes back to what you were saying on whether or not Godzilla X Kong is the movie for that example or whatnot. I think Hollywood is very risk adverse to a certain degree, and they want something that's for sure at times. And I think they're looking for, because this is the thing, if tentpole type movies keep doing really well, or really big budget movies do really well, I don't know if that proves anything to them. You know, it just means we need to we're going to have to keep doing those movies, and all the other movies have to go on streaming, because that's how we're going to break even, because those big movies cost a lot of money. And so I think you might have some directors and filmmakers who are essentially trying to save cinema, right, in their minds. And I mean, it's kind of like, I mean, Nolan tried that with Tenet. Right? His thing was, you gonna put this on theater, COVID be damned. You know what I mean? He was doing it too. He was like, no, my movies are made for the theater, you know? And I think you have a lot of them that have that mindset. So I fully believe he did think and hope anyway that Roadhouse, the Gyllenhaal version, was going to make at least, you know, a profit. Maybe not astronomical. And that's the thing too. And we talk about this here. It's like, what's considered a hit? And I think depending on who in the ecosystem of this industry you ask, it differs, right? Like if you ask a studio exec, there might be a whole different kind of echelon, because they have to pay for marketing. They got to pay for the person, They want probably and you know, they got to pay off whatever $1 million they put to the side for themselves, because we all know that's what happens up in there too.
Producers, yes.
And so they want something that's way higher up, versus some of us might be like, well, it made its budget back and then made another 20 million. Isn't that great? And isn't it about the film? Really? They don't think about that. So I think that's another thing too. Someone's got to put it out there on what actually counts as a success. You know, are we all on the same page there?
No. I think big action. Well, I mean, with studios or companies like Blumhouse and A24, they don't risk too much. They'll throw 10 maybe less $1 million into something, and they break even. And once something hits, that's when they collect on everything. You know, Jason Blum appears to be interested in buying all of these properties and licenses from stuff from yesterdecade. And it seems like every 2 months there's some Blumhouse something that, you know, doesn't look fantastic, but the budget isn't that crazy. Same thing for A24. I feel like if you think your movie is, if you think your work is strong enough to stand on its own without, you know, having the studio interfere, do it for less. Do it for less. Do it for A24. You know, small indie stuff, because when you're signing on to do Roadhouse, I don't know if you're really entering that equation thinking, yeah, my voice will be heard here. Oh yeah, you're doing a remake from a Patrick Swayze bar beat 'em up. Okay. Tell me about your cinematic voice. What is that face? I love the movie. What are you talking about?
It is its own film. Okay, it's a reinterpretation.
I quite enjoyed it. I just feel like that is a movie that is perfect for where it is. I feel like there are comedies that have, you know.
Would you have said that about Hangover though? You know what I mean? Like, you get what I'm saying? Like the type of movie these things are. Look what Hangover was able to do. It was a saga, a trilogy of that thing.
Sure.
I think
I think
now,
comedies
if it was
play
made,
a little different with an audience, though. Like you kind of have to have an audience for a comedy. I
I
could be
don't know.
wrong.
I feel like it's the same, right? It's like comedy and those fighting movies. I mean, yeah, maybe fighting movies have had their era, but like back in the day when Jean-Claude, there were so many type of movies like that that were making big box office to the point where they kept doing them. And I mean, even with comedies, there's been some comedies that came out that bombed, right? Like that that one with it was the gay romantic comedy.
There were a couple different ones.
Okay.
So there's Bros. There was
Bros. I'm thinking about Bros.
Bros is the big one. Yeah.
Bros was the one had so much marketing behind it. And I thought it was funny. I thought he monologued a little too long in some of the things, but I thought it was pretty funny. And it was a raunchy comedy, just like Hangover was. And I honestly think
is that Apatow, that movie?
It was Apatow.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, and I think at this point, one would argue if the Hangover was made now, would they have had confidence to put that on the big screen? I think that would have went to streaming too. I think you would have seen the Hangover premiering on Prime, unfortunately.
Probably.
Yeah, actually.
Well, Borat's sequel was exclusive to Prime.
I think so. I know his show was. Yeah, that makes sense. So that like kind of puts even more credence to that. Like it probably would be a small release of the comedy. I'm trying to think of like the last big comedy in theaters for a while, and I don't know. I'm drawing a blank.
All of Adam Sandler movies are going to Netflix.
Yeah.
Like, well, I mean, that's probably because he's getting that money, but he's like, hey, all right, put it on Netflix. I mean, we're not even getting friggin' Beverly Hills Cop 4 on the big screen, which is a travesty. And I honestly think that would do well in theaters, but
I think it would. And it's the same thing that all these other like remakes, reimaginings, franchises are going off of. Like you've got the name value there, and it's the built-in audience. I don't know. I would like to see Axel Foley on the big screen again, but
yeah, I feel like there's a lot more going on than simply I just think they're not prioritizing mid-level movies at this point. I think the studios have given up on that.
Prioritizing,
but they're not like, radioing that out, but I think they've given up on that. I think they're like, no, that doesn't work for what we want money-wise.
So the short of it, what I was trying to say without saying this sentence was, I think as long as people are willing to pay things and studios are making their money back, they don't care what you think. If you're going to pay and go, they don't care if you like it or not. Here's more of the same because this is what makes money. So don't care. Am I incredibly off with that idea?
You're probably pretty on point, honestly.
But don't care who thinks. The audience
if
or like
money. I don't think they give a shit what the lasting impression is. If they made their money, they don't care. That is my guesstimate.
It appears to be the way that's going right now, sadly.
Which sucks.
Is that not a good thing though for like you were talking about A24, Neon, and others to kind of maybe we'll see a renaissance of more independent studios putting out, I mean, they've already been doing that, but putting out more, stuff that the bigger studios are afraid to do because they don't want to, in their mind, not make as much money as they want to. Would that not be a good thing?
No,
is that not a silver lining?
No, of course it is. I just feel like I listen. I don't know who directed Roadhouse, but I feel like in this age, signing on to do a streaming services. Granted, Amazon may not have had distribution when everything was worked out, but feeling shitty about the fact that Roadhouse.
Doug Liman's Roadhouse.
Doug Liman, yeah.
I love Doug Liman.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's gonna make me. I hadn't seen it yet. I'm gonna probably go watch it now. I love Doug Liman.
Here I was thinking it was some first timer.
Michael, my boyfriend Michael, he watched it. He loved it. He sits and watches those kind of movies that it appeals to.
What does that mean? Those kind of movies?
You men. Y'all are They're so easy to please. Someone's fighting in a bar, got it. Like, but yeah. So yeah.
If Sydney Sweeney was in it, it'd make it to the theaters. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, CB, Charles.
Yeah. So that's troubling. Doug Liman is no nobody. That's
no Edge of Tomorrow and everything else.
How often do his movies do really, really well though? I feel like they're always kind of fly under the radar a little bit.
Dude, Edge of Tomorrow is probably the closest. I mean, it's an idea we've seen before, but this hybridization of Groundhog Day, but action. And Tom Cruise is just, I don't know, his name on a poster prints money.
I mean, he's done The Bourne Identity. I'm looking it up now. Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and you said Edge of Tomorrow. Yeah, he's had some big ones to the point where he's probably like, just like Nolan being like, you're not going to put my thing straight to streaming. Of course, he lost out in this particular case. But yeah, I understand what he's saying. He's like, he believes in himself and he thinks this could have put butts in the seat. And y'all didn't want to do that for whatever reason.
Yeah. So I'm going to look like an asshole. I'm going to pivot.
Okay.
So it kind of goes to what you were talking about, Chauncey. Do you think maybe that studios and distributors should stop thinking that the only things that will make them money is Marvel action, superhero, all this other franchise junk? I mean, they have a short turnaround. Why not throw it on some screens, see how Roadhouse does for 2 weeks, and worst case, you have a extended word of mouth, and then you have it on your streaming service 2 weeks in. What's the harm in that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just an extra expense. Like, you've definitely got to advertise it and everything, where you get kind of some buzz for it going to streaming. But they did send it to, wasn't it South by and stuff? So they had some prints of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm conflicted.
I wonder if it's like a thing where it's like they just need to accept that like not every movie needs to make $1 billion.
Yeah,
there. That's it right there.
They just need to accept like a $60 million profit is a $60 million profit. Like just take that. Like just take it. Like it's free $60 million.
That's what I mean. It's one of those things where it's like, I feel like if they're not making hand over fist like a Pooh-verse type thing or something where whatever, man. Like, it's not making like horror movies. You can make that, a lot of them on a shoestring budget, and you make so much money from that. And I think that's the margin they're honestly looking at. They're not looking at mid-tier this and then we make back just enough. They're like, nah, we need handover. Like, and it's about them not necessarily accepting that that's not where we're at anymore necessarily. And I don't know. Do y'all think they're still trying to make a profit off of streaming somehow? I mean,
somehow is the opportunity.
I mean, they've been trying to figure it out. I mean, let's be real. They're about to put,
Prime's doing advertisements. I think Netflix is just about to do. I don't know. They're trying different ways because I don't know that it's working out currently. But
that's what
people
I'm saying.
are watching.
Like, are they actually profitable, or are they all just operating in the red?
It seems
I think they want it to be.
Right.
I think they want it to be. And I do think, a lot of these streaming services are about to turn back into network television with with the commercial tier they're putting in on everything, because Netflix oversaturated with everyone who's going to buy a subscription to Netflix has probably already gotten their subscription, but they want to spend more money. So where do they get that money from? They bring in the advertisers, because honestly, we can talk about the new age and the new world order, but that's how television made its money. It sold spots for a couple $1 million. It would sell spots. And you know what? It's tried and true.
Yeah, I saw something. Go ahead, Gray.
So I was going to say that's another part that I guess we didn't mention. There's some real obvious product placement going on in a lot of the movies recently, a lot of the bigger ones. Godzilla definitely had a bunch of those shots where it's like, oh, they're like showing the car logo just like front and center. Okay. All right.
Where did we get a Pepsi can that size? That's incredible.
Could you imagine? Everybody?
Oh my God, Godzilla just chugging.
Like he needs power. Like maybe that's his power source.
I think a lot of those streaming shows are going to start seeing a lot more of that too. Like they're definitely holding that Coke with the label visible. I don't know.
Stranger Things is one of my favorite ones of all time, where they start talking about new Coke, and it makes sense because it's the 80s and they're making actually a point about nostalgia, and the Stranger Things is about nostalgia. But then the kid, I can't remember which one, just goes gulp gulp gulp. And the entire time the logo is right at the screen. I'm just like, bro. Yeah. No, and again, it worked in context, but still, it was just like, damn.
Yeah, my Pavlov's dog sinus sense worked. So, yeah, I bought one of those silly cans from Stranger Things.
Oh.
Still tastes like junk, but
you fell for it.
Yeah, now if I could, I'd have Coke put in my veins for Pete's sake.
Oh, geez.
Lucas. It was
Coca-Cola.
Lucas of the Stranger Things kids. Okay.
Oh shit! I just lost it. I had something and I absolutely lost it.
Your brain.
Yeah. Oh, so there was an kind of piggybacking what you were saying. There's an article that says that cable cutters from 10 years ago are being duped back into it, where I think Netflix is doing like live WWE events starting this year at some time. So like,
is it Netflix? Because I thought Peacock had WWE.
They did, but I think Netflix bought it.
Really?
I think they're doing some of it as well, and there's some other live sports. Like I think I saw tennis on there the other day, and yeah, they're going to be doing live comedy as well. So they're dabbling.
We're going right back to what, and it's not even like, oh, we're moving backwards. What it is, we're moving back to what is profitable for people. There was a hope that streaming would be profitable, and on subscriptions alone, and versus what they want to spend when it comes to original content and things, it's not adding up. And they've been trying to make it add up for some time, but overseas, right? So Dubai and stuff, they're probably gonna okay.
Hey,
I think that sounds familiar.
In the UK, it's important to me.
But yeah, no, it's going right back to what we thought we were getting away from, because they're not thinking about user convenience anymore. It's not about, oh my gosh, you can watch it without commercials. Well, sorry, we can't make money that way. So back to commercials.
Yeah, it's like what the cable companies used to fight about, and they would put it on their customers like, hey, listen, if you want FX, you got to pay extra for it because they're holding us over the fire here. And it's just that all over again. That's what got people away from cable. And I don't know, another thing was, I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, is that the target audience isn't what they think it is anymore. The target audience doesn't watch film. Like the 17 to 24-year-olds, they admitted to not watching movies, or certainly not any of these streaming services. And their big thing is like TikTok and podcasts. And they're not going to the theater. Content. Yeah. So the one solid thing that movie industry had was 17 to 24-year-olds. We advertised to them. Okay. Because they had expendable money. Now that's a little bit different, but by a couple of cases. I don't think they need to find out who their target base is, and I don't know. I can't help but feel like Godzilla X Kong making $80 million at the end of March is harmful.
What was the age range? Do they have stats on who has?
God,
damn,
that's a lot.
Yeah.
Do they have stats? Do they have stats on the age range of people who are going to see the big blockbusters? Like, what's the age range for the Dune 2 people? What's the age range for? And I do agree about Generation Z very much. I mean, it's looking at they're also the behavior of who you're going towards, because I think when I did have TikTok, I did delete it. I don't have it anymore. I went back to Instagram, but like when I did have TikTok, it boggled my mind to be able to see whole clips of movies, like part 1 to part 25 of a whole film. Just going through, I'm like, how is this allowed that they're just putting like the whole movie like in clips on TikTok?
How do you watch it that way? Like that would be so annoying.
There's so many of them though.
And they get lots of views, lots of views.
And then when you talk to some people who are Zoomers, it's like, oh yeah, I know about that. And it's like, oh, do you watch it? And like, oh no, I watched the clips on TikTok. And it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, so what this means is they need to more prioritize us millennials, and they need to start catering to us because, we aren't buying houses, so they can we can spend on other things.
Yeah.
Cody, I was just about to say, like, I've seen entire movies on Twitter. I've seen entire seasons of anime on Twitter. Like, I was just scrolling one day and I saw, fuck it, here's the entire Boo Saga from Dragon Ball Z. And I'm just like, that's like 8 hours of content.
Right? It's crazy. And I don't know. And it's not like Generation Z is kind of saying, oh, don't do that. We want to go to, they are actually okay with, not to generalize, that they're okay with watching it on their screens, but because there's also the thing of that generation in particular didn't have the half and half that millennials did, or the none at all that boomers did at a certain time, where it was like, okay, we went outside for a bit, and then, once we hit college and stuff, there was certain, the smartphones and everything. So we had that time of movies very much being the theater, being a hangout spot for us and things like that. And I don't think Generation Z has that as much. I don't think that's really their go-to, because they very much were raised on the online existence.
What was that thing, that streaming service that was like Vine, but it was like for produced content?
It was like Q or Quibi.
Yeah, that's the one.
Was that ahead of its time? Maybe.
Both, it was both ahead of its time.
It wasn't at the right time.
It
wasn't the right time.
Yeah, it was a weird.
I mean, I'll be honest. If I can go to a movie and avoid the phones, let Gen Z have whatever. Just keep them out of the movie theater. Like, seriously.
I thought you were saying give them the movie theaters. I was gonna say no.
Oh yeah, they suck in the movies. Yeah. Like, it's just because they're so I don't want to generalize, because I know like boomers did that with millennials and stuff. Oh, they want to spin avocado toast, but it's just one of those things where it's like it really is a thing where some of them that I've come across, and this is another reason why, even though millennials and boomers might be more prone to want to go to the theater, we have other generations coming to the theater who don't know theater etiquette. Yes. And so it's like, well, listen, I'm not going through that. I'm going to stay at home. So the people who would actually go don't want to deal with the people who do go and don't have theater etiquette, because I think some of them don't know how to put away the phone. So it's like, oh, of course I'm supposed to have my phone out while the movie's going on. Oh, look what just happened on screen. And it's like, whoa.
On opening night, we had our experience of Annihilation, which is not a movie you take your phone out for, let alone just hold it up like this. We had our experience of Annihilation ruined by somebody sitting in front of us. And it was just Annihilation, for fuck's sake. That was an experience. You want to talk about movie theaters that where you want to experience something in the theater. Annihilation was it. This girl had her fucking phone out from 10 minutes in. It was just like, get out. Just fucking get out.
Like, why even come to the theater at that point?
I mean, maybe she's on a date, but like it's like you said, the etiquette.
It's worse. Ignoring the movie and the guy. What's she even doing there?
Right?
Yeah, just mentally checked.
At least make out with your date if it's like a bad movie. I don't know, man. Okay.
It's bad. Well, I was gonna. There's the theaters in Denmark where they had the TV in the bathroom. So if you were,
that would be kind of cool.
It is cool.
That would be really convenient in a way.
Like, that's rewarding shitty behavior that way, though.
True. Like literal shitty behavior.
With the jokes. Yeah, but I mean, like, it always is kind of that etiquette thing. Like, I don't know. My experience with The Boy and the Heron was kind of ruined because there was a crying baby like right next to me. But I don't know. Like, it sucks. You
didn't
can
give
ruin it without a phone
stern.
too.
You didn't give stern looks to the parents.
I did. They
That's
had
what
their
I
back to me,
do.
the row right in front of me, and just weren't looking behind them.
That happened to me. It almost happened to me in the Little Mermaid live action. And I hate to say that because I'm like, okay, yeah, kids can come see this, I guess. But there's some little girls, and their parents were not. And I kept, like, I made it very. You got to make it very obvious. I'm like.
Apparently, the original Little Mermaid was the first time my mom took me to the theater, and I spent the entire time trying to sneak out to go to the arcade.
Wait, what?
The original Little Mermaid.
Oh, I was like, what?
Yeah.
You just recently discovered the theater.
Yeah, it's a whole new thing. I'm like, you just go to a building and watch a movie? What?
Yeah, my brain shut off there for a minute. I was like, we need to legalize ice throwing.
Throwing ice.
Well, like can somebody figure out that Gen Z is just not into movies the same way that they used to be, and just kind of have their thing? I mean, like amusement parks, how many middle-aged people do you see there by themselves? Usually it's families or like date night for teenagers or something.
Which amusement parks?
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah.
Oh, really?
Disneyland.
Yeah. Because Disneyland, you need money. And listen, that is a whole bunch of dinks. Double income, no kids.
It's a magical place for all ages.
That's what you call a dink. A double income, no kids. There's a lot of us up in there. I'm just saying. Now, Six Flags, sure. But, they're starting to ban them, right? A lot of people can't be there after a certain age at a certain time because
that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about it to some degree or another, that the theater industry is, I mean, COVID was probably the worst thing to happen to the theater industry because it just opened these avenues that I don't know if they're going to completely heal from, but I keep going back to it. $80 million for Godzilla X Kong, like in March. What?
X gonna give it to you. That's the last time we'll make that show here.
I think it might have been. Yeah, I think it might have been millennials, boomers, and Generation X. I don't mean to like forget Generation X. Like everyone forgets Generation X, they say. But I think it was those three who went, and I guess I would ask you, what does it mean that Generation Z doesn't go to the movies?
Me, I'm not losing any money for it. I
But I'm saying, like, what? Oh, we lost Lindsay.
What did he do?
Oh no!
See, you make fun of Generation X. Lindsay's out.
He didn't like your tag.
Oh my gosh.
Hi. Sorry.
Hi. I thought you left because I talked about Generation X.
Oh no. I hit the little thumb button on my mouse on accident, so my web page went back.
I hate that. I've done that too many times.
But I guess
have opinions, Lindsay. You don't need to go.
But I guess my question, like, what does that mean for the theater, like for cinema, right? It's like, who's going to see the film if it's not Generation Z?
Well, you have a point. I'm curious to know Dune numbers because it's strong. It has legs for modern age in the era of COVID. So I'd like to know what the ages are of people that are going to see Dune, because that
would be fascinating.
That's an interesting.
Like Zendaya, I'm assuming is a poll for the youngins. Is Timothy Chalamet a poll too?
Chalamet would have to be. I'd assume so. Yeah. The studios are banking on it.
Okay.
Yeah, Chalamet and Zendaya, yeah, for sure. But then I think for Zendaya, she might be like a millennial poll too, though, because she kind of came in towards the end of was it Nickelodeon or was it Disney? I think it was Disney she was on. She was a Disney kid. And yeah, no, I think, I don't know, because how old is she? 28? She's 28.
She's that old?
Yeah, she is. No, she's 28. She's 27, 28. Yeah, she's 2 years to 30.
Playing a teenager in movies.
But you know what I mean? Like her, Tom, and all of them, they're up. Like Timothy is like 27, 28. So I don't know. I feel like they're kind of a pull, but it's I I think it might more so be the nostalgia, like even the Godzilla X Kong thing and the Dune. I think part of that, that's part of some people's childhoods and stuff, like the originals and everything.
For sure.
The Dunes have legs.
Yeah, that was an incredible joke.
The Dunes
actually.
have legs. Do you think the monkey movie has legs? Do you think this will hold, or was this
got
just
paws?
it opened?
So the thing that I found fascinating in regards to the monkey movie is it doesn't matter what it does in the States, because they make 2/3 without fail. 2/3 of their money is internationally done. I mean, already Godzilla X Kong 115 internationally. That's in the bank. They could close tomorrow, and they've made their budget back already.
Wait, have they? How much did it cost to make?
It was 175, I think.
Oh, that's it. Oh, okay, good for them. Good money spending. Okay.
Don't do that. Don't encourage them.
No, I assumed it was a 200 million. No, you see, even if it's only 25 less, I'd be impressed.
Yeah. So I don't know what the answer is to all of that, because between Godzilla X Kong and Dune, there's got to be a disparity, like quite a bit.
Or they just embrace it and make Dune X Kong X Godzilla. like let's get the people what they really want. Like, they're all Warner, but yeah, see, they can just all.
Here we go. A parent of a Gen Zer or Gen Y. My kids get more excited for things dropping on Netflix than a new movie coming to theaters. And they get to go for free no matter. So never mind.
Yeah.
Never mind.
There was actually Cody actually said something connected to that a little earlier in the chat about the idea of growing, kind of like what I was saying, like growing up in a time where it's like you got your phone right there. So much stuff is so instantly available. Like we were talking about earlier,
sure.
A movie comes out, it's not even out for a month, and I'm getting a press release that it's about to come on VOD or digital. And I'm like, I just remember getting the press release for like an advanced thing. Like I don't, it's so like, it's instant. And that's a lot of the internet culture is instant gratification nowadays.
Is part of the solution, and it's not really a solution or anything, but is it possible that theater chains do an inverse of what Amazon and Netflix do, and they start buying pieces of movies because they're going to be extinct? And there's certainly a conflict of interest as far as, I mean, that's what, the 1940s, the last time that.
You mean like the studios owning the theaters? I thought you meant like divvying up who owns the movie itself.
Inverse. Like AMC starts distributing movies because they need concession money or whatever, sell toys and all this other shit.
That's an interesting thought.
Well, I mean, because Netflix, I mean, you kind of have a point. Netflix did that. They bought one theater in LA, and Amazon, they released through Lionsgate or MGM or something, but it's the same thing where like they say it's for awards, but I really don't know where that begins and ends. But if the theater industry is in,
well, there was a thing a few years ago that law lapsed that you referenced, CP. That so there's nothing legally speaking anymore to stop a movie theater or a studio to buy one or the other. Like they can, it's perfectly legal now. It wasn't up until about 3 or 4 years ago, but now it's why not?
Yeah. So COVID ruined the restaurant industry and the theater industry.
Well, what do you want to see? Do you want people to start going back to the theater?
I would say Dune X Kong versus X Godzilla.
This thing, you can still go to the theater.
Oh, of course.
So what do you want to do? What do you want?
I just want that option to be there, I guess. Like,
but we have that still.
For now, but there's a few of them that are shutting down. I'm just.
So do you think theaters are gonna? You think cinemas?
I don't think
there's not gonna be any theater houses.
I just want there to be choices and like big cinemas. I don't want it to be like, okay, you can either see the Monkey movie or Dune, and like that's it. I would like those smaller ones to be there, and I don't know. I do have like an art house theater in my town where I can see some of the lesser ones, but sadly, like kind of the big theater near me doesn't carry those. So it's kind of I don't know. A few of them closed down since COVID, so it's kind of weird. But a few of them did start showing like Netflix stuff, which is kind of weird. I don't know exactly how they work that out, but there's a cool one near me that kind of does that. So that's kind of cool. You can actually get like dinner and a show, and it's in front of people. It's kind of fun, but it's different, and it's not the same prices as that like monkey movie one. So I don't know.
Chauncey, the Lemley's dead, right? That's gone. I haven't seen the Lemley. I know the Pasadena Lemley closed. Are all the Lemleys gone?
I don't know if all of them are gone,
but a lot of them are.
But yeah, some of them are.
Yeah.
And then you got Vista with Quentin Tarantino so there's still art house, but yeah, I get that too. Like wanting to have the option to see something on the big screen as opposed to it's never coming to the big screen. It's going straight to streaming. And it's funny you highlighted that quote about the Alamo Draft House, but it's up for sale.
We were just talking about earlier, Cody.
Like you can so have much for that. Like
so that kind of proves like I guess what my point is that the one chain that I think we're all kind of championing, they're out. they're for sale. So something's not working. I don't know.
It might just be going the way of a more niche kind of thing.
I think it's going to be like like roller skating, things that people do.
Roller skating is so cool.
Is it? Would you own a roller arena? Whatever the hell they call
No, but
things?
I go to one once every couple of years.
Every couple of years.
Yeah. So I feel like Tarantino opening it, owning one is unique, but I feel like it's like people say, why don't they have Blockbuster videos or VHS stores anymore? Because most people don't care if it's on their phone, they want the ease of access. So enthusiasts are so heavily outweighed. And I'll go right back to Godzilla X Kong, that movie making way too much money. Is just gonna don't take any risks, studios. That is the moral of this story.
I wonder if it's the baby Kong in the trailers. That's like hanging out being like, "Rah, I'm a baby Kong." Like, is that why the movie did so well? Or like
Greg?
I know they sold an action figure of Titanus Doug, but
that's Titanus Doug. Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I don't know. He's not a huge part in the movie. At one point, spoilers, Kong picks him up and hits a bunch of other monkeys with him. So that's fun.
No. Monkey.
So if it is him, they mistreat him in the like.
Wait, is he okay?
There's a bunch of bad ones. Yeah. They.
Is he invincible?
Again, spoilers.
Okay, yeah, spoilers.
Not invincible, but he takes a turn, but he's not one of the good guys initially. But good times.
Were any skyscraper-sized Kongs harmed during the making of this movie?
Two.
Digitally, yes. They're going up against Godzillas and such, but they don't have the plot armor that the real older Kong has. So
I do not endorse AI Kongs. Sorry.
The
claymation was where it's at. It looks great in the stop motion.
Oh my god, that's what we need.
I would love for like a claymation movie.
I would love that.
Oh, no. That would make me so happy. I want like an old school like Power Rangers where it's like just two dudes in like weird outfits just like barely punching each other and like sparks fly out, but with like modern day like cameras and shit. Like that looks so cool. Like
I agree. Mix and match. Chauncey, we're going to do Ghostbusters spoilers. Are
My
you
food's coming?
Okay.
Yes.
See, did you order it in?
Yes. I go to restaurants occasionally.
You're the problem, Chauncey.
And it's avocado toast.
Avocado.
I'm kidding. Okay, y'all.
Take it
have a good night.
Yeah, have a good night.
Wait, anything to plug before you go?
Oh, well, the season finale of Production Tales from Hell is happening this Sunday. It's going to be The Exorcist, where we deal with all the layers of film hell. And I just want to thank anyone who's been watching it. We've been getting to have videos that have over 100,000 views and things like that. It's just been really cool. And everyone seems to be really enjoying the series. And it's been really fun diving into the behind the scenes of all these movies that I either love or hate, like The Shining. Kubrick's The Shining.
Shots fired.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I talk about that in the episode, and why. But yeah, The Exorcist is the season finale of season 1 of Production Tales from Hell this Sunday on the Dead Meat channel. So
awesome.
go check it out.
I've been watching 2 of the episodes. It's really good so far.
Thank you. Okay, talk to y'all later.
Take care, Chauncey. We're going to lose her to the big guys.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
We just have to become the new live meat channel where we count the people who survive the horror movies.
I don't stand a snowball's chance in hell for that. All right, so this is a week old, but I finally got around to it. Again, this is your warning. Spoilers for Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. You've been warned. And so here we are. So Ghostbusters Frozen Empire for the year, 10 days, is still not at $80 million domestic. So I think it pulled in $16 million this weekend. So it was a third of its opening weekend. I don't think things with legs is really a thing anymore, unless it's like Avatar.
It's Sandworm. I mean, it seems to be going.
Oh, yeah. No, you're right. You're Dune has been lingering.
Cat people, sandworms, and morbins. Those are the only thing I like anymore.
So I know Cody said he wasn't. It was empty. I haven't watched. I'm just going on clickbait thumbnails, but it did say empty or something in the thumbnail, and for the most part, it appears to be mixed. Gray, what is the consensus with my favorite end of YouTube?
A lot of people didn't like it, for sure. A lot of people just see it. So I think, like you mentioned, Cody was saying somewhat empty. I think a lot of people were saying lifeless and just a bunch of member berries.
That might have been it.
But yeah. So Cody had some nice things to say about it in his review, but thumbnails, man. You got to click on it. It's not like it was okay. No one's gonna click on that.
I have the wrong terminology, evidently, as Cody is correcting me. I don't know what the SEO, all that click through, all that shit is not. It made me want to click. Yeah, I don't have the terminology. Yeah, but
also ass shit. That's a hell of an insult right there.
So that kind of laid the groundwork for me expecting a tire fire. It's my second favorite Ghostbusters movie.
And you've seen all 5?
Yeah, I don't know if Ghostbusters is really a big deal to me, though. So that's kind of the caveat here. Because, I mean, Ghostbusters 2 is essentially a soft reboot.
The best
Cotton
of them.
Candy reboot of one, and then Afterlife.
But Afterlife, if you're calling 2 a soft reboot of 1, what are you calling Afterlife?
A soft reboot of 1.
It doesn't feel so soft, man. Fair enough.
And then this one kind of feels like a soft reboot of Afterlife, if we're being honest.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Even the same opening. Well, not opening, but that whole chase scene with the dragon seems very reminiscent of the one we got in Afterlife.
Hold on. We're gonna get a. Are
we getting a ringer?
A clickbait connoisseur.
Oh,
nice.
Has invited himself. We're gonna get a lesson in clickbait, everyone. Yes. So I didn't hate it. I actually enjoyed it. Yeah.
Can I ask you, what's your number 3 then? Would it be Afterlife or would it be 2?
I would have to think about it. It might be 2, and 16 is at the bottom. Like that. That's easy for me.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I'm that asshole that thinks that all is like the first Ghostbusters is definitely the best, but then all the sequels are just kind of on the same level. Kind of. Like they're all just kind of okay. None of them are really objectively like horrible for me, but none of them are great.
I could slosh them around, but the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I'm not married to the franchise. So like I was okay with some of the different directions it was going in. And I felt like this movie is the best sort of handoff if they were to just stop. I mean, there's that line at the end, the golden years. I was like,
that's true.
Okay. Can we do something in a franchise that isn't so chained to people that are in the originals anymore? Because that's didn't we get almost that same conversation in Afterlife though? Like as they're grabbing the proton packs and talking about like retirement and everything. I don't know. I get what you're saying, but I feel like we had the send off. Like, I don't know, cameo this time. We don't need the send off again. But maybe I'm a jerk and I'm jaded.
Well, they should have killed at least one of them.
The clickbait king.
Like that's I don't know. Hey, Cody,
what's up?
Hi, it's Mr. Clickbait himself, Cody Leach. Hi, how are you?
First of all, clickbait by definition, sir, is when you advertise something that the video is not. So if I get you to click, and I'm like, actually, I'm not even talking about Ghostbusters, but if you want to get some Temu products, like that's something totally different. But anyway, regardless.
Right. The clickable king.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Well, you always put the sentence on the thumbnail, and I'm like, okay, that appears to
works.
Oh no, listen, you're the
little
pro, I'm
little
not.
summary of what my thoughts are going to be. People go, what? Oh man, what were we talking about?
All right, so I haven't clearly, as you heard me say, I haven't watched anybody's review yet. But am I right to assume that you were? Oh, I mean, you kind of talked about it 2 weeks ago, or last week.
Frozen Empire.
Yeah,
I thought it was okay. It's
not terrible, right?
No, it's not terrible. I mean, of course, most of us love the original Ghostbusters. I'm one of the people that really like Afterlife. Seems to be one of two people. You either think that it's too nostalgic or it was like a necessary nostalgia. I lean on necessary. I think it was, especially for Harold Ramis's sake, it made sense to touch on the heartstrings a little bit. But Frozen Empire, like I was excited after Afterlife came and we wrapped up the Harold Ramis stuff. We got back into the swing of things. You know, we paid proper respect to what came before, but we also got a new cast and some new stuff. I was excited to just see them go full like new territory. And they don't really do that here. Like they kind of dabble in it, but there's still a lot of like remember berries all over the place, and not a single one of them has any place in the movie that like matters. Like you cut the scene, movie's exactly the same. Slimer's only there to give Finn Wolfhard something to do for a few minutes.
The kid from Stranger Things. You got to have him in the movie.
Yeah, I mean, and even some of the original cast, like you got Ernie Hudson doing some stuff, and you got Dan Aykroyd in there, but like you have the secretary, you got Bill Murray. They're basically just there to be like, "What's up, guys? OG." And I just felt like
Murray gets a couple of laughs. I don't know. It hit big in my theater.
Yeah.
Although, why did he randomly like drink the booze and then the next scene he's got shades indoors while it's dark? I don't know, but fair enough.
Because he's Bill Murray. He
had that idgaff energy.
Yeah, but the big issue with the movie is I felt like there was like 7 or 8 plot lines going, and only 3 of them really needed to be there.
Yeah,
like if they would have focused on Paul Rudd,
7 or 8, like there's way too many.
Yeah, I think if they had just focused on Paul Rudd and his stepfather troubles, and then McKenna Grace's, trying to be a part of the group, but she's a little risky and she's young and getting pushed out. You could have just had her join up with Dan Aykroyd and find that little orb thing, and the whole time they're doing their Ghostbusters thing without her, and she's like, "We got this incoming doom, motherfuckers!" And then by the third act, they come back together. But you have, Kumail Nanjiani, he's good in the role, but I don't know what the purpose of his character was besides just having somebody else there. You have
he's the vessel for that. Yeah, well, he's the the keymaster, whatever this version of the keymaster is.
But I look at his role in the third act, and if you just take his character out, the third act is exactly the same.
Kind of. He's kind of the Bill Murray, the like weird, cynical, like, I don't know, almost charlatan of the movie. Like, I don't know. I like the Kumail part, but man, there are so many plot lines.
Yeah,
that just
the
kind of
friendly
go nowhere
ghost
in this
character that
yeah,
half of the internet is fine with, and the other, and they're like half of the internet is like they're forcing a lesbian storyline, and I'm like, at no point was it a love story.
No.
Like, if you take it that way, cool, but like, this is one of those things where suddenly that's the big topic on Twitter, and I'm like, ugh. But that never really went anywhere. You knew where it was going,
No.
and then she
Even
does
that's
what she does, and
weird,
then just kind of disappears. Like, that could have been something interesting, like having a ghost that actually challenges what these guys think of these spirits, because usually they're just like, let's bust them, let's put them in this fucking firehouse and move on with their day, and then you get one that actually is like tormented. That'd be a cool thing to do, but they dabble in it. And so you have
cool tormented ones in that building too, and it shows you that weird slime spitting one, but like the one that everyone kind of wanted to see, the like super creepy one, like it just teases you with it like twice.
Oh, the one whose face kind of just comes out. And goes, that one was cool.
I want to see that one.
Yeah. So every one of the storylines just feel like they're like quarter or half cooked. So there's some that I liked, there's some that I could have went without, but all of them are just like, we're going to touch on what we're going to go here, and then that's it. And then we got to spend screen time on the other 9 things going on.
I think my favorite example is that at one point in the movie, they're like, oh, the demon lost his horns, and that made him weaker. And then us, the audience, remember, oh, there were horns in that room. But then he just walks over and just grabs them. And it's just like, well, what was even the point? Like, just let him have his horns.
What was in the animation?
I guess. I don't know.
I wouldn't be the first one to say it, but I wish this was a show. Like, they could have actually fleshed out a bunch of those plot lines. Like, they seem cool, but they were just so protracted. It would have been great if they're just kind of like a reference instead of like, we wasted 10 minutes on this excursion. Like the whole Slimer thing, like, okay, I guess he comes in to take out the one guy at the end, sort of. But other than that, like, what was the point? I don't know.
Even the Marshmallow Man.
That pissed me off.
That
They had
like,
so much screen time.
Toys. Here, let's sell toys. Here's little Marshmallow Man.
Like, it was bad enough in the first. I say the first movie. It was bad enough in Afterlife, when they're like, "Hey, let's do stuff as the Stay Puft again," and it's going to be like 100 million of them, and they'll be tiny. But like, why do you got to bring them back?
Toys.
And then why the library thing at all? Like, if you cut that entire thing out, like, still with how it goes down with the girl, you'd still get her to say the things because he takes control of it. Like, none of that needed to happen. Like,
oh, that's true. That whole huh.
Is anybody bothered by the fact that the movies are kind of more family friendly now versus the first film?
Yes, very much so. So I watched the first one not too long ago, and like, there is the classic line, like, is that true? And then, you actually get the punchline in this. Like, twice they cut it off where it's like, don't say another word, and then they cut to the reaction. Like, can you believe she said that? And then they do it again with the mayor. I think they would have shown that in the original one, but it was definitely going harder. This is supposed to be a family one. So I don't know. I guess it's not for me, but fair enough. I think the original one was, and I wish they'd kind of stayed in that lane, but it's a new time. I don't know.
It does feel like with stuff like that, with language and things, you're trying to have your cake and eat it too. Like, people who enjoyed 1984, you didn't have problems, dropping adult themes 40 years ago. So like, why?
Well, that's the thing though. There's adult themes in this. They're talking about a sex dungeon. They're talking about the chains and everything. So it's like, they just decide not to say certain things. Like, she obviously swore, so let's not show that. Instead, we're just going to cut to the aftermath. It's a different kind of humor. It does feel like more family friendly. Like, the humor is we didn't show that part.
It did feel like, for different sections of the movie, it was like, when the teenagers were around, it was like, okay, here's your Ghostbusters sequel for teenagers. Like you said, let's joke about sex. And the girl, the new tech, she had a lot of sexual lace.
Oh, that's what you were doing with your hand there. I got
you lost me. I was like, where are we going with this?
No, she had the not the proton pack, not this, but this.
No, Janine gets the hand cannon at the end. Yes, and then they just don't do anything with it. That could have been such a cool scene. Like, also, if they'd like prolonged and shown a little bit more of the gadgets, but none of them matter. None of them do anything in the end. I don't know.
It also just felt weird when they introduced her character, not Janine, like the girl who had the hand cannon initially, the pseudo girlfriend from the first one. Like, so she's been in New York and he's been in New York, and they're like pseudo boyfriend, girlfriend or whatever. And even if they're not that, they're like friends or whatever. And this is the first time they've seen each other in how long? She didn't know she was in New York. She hasn't reached out. Like, this entire world feels like it's like not moving until it's on screen. And then it like starts moving again until it's off screen. And would
you really have wanted the extra 15 minutes telling you how their relationship is doing?
No, just
at least got it with Lucky. Yeah. Like, you kind of get to know. You got it with podcasts as opposed to Lucky. You don't really know what's going on. Like, there's just one line, like, yeah, I'm doing an internship here. Where like podcast is at least like pretending that he's at like the science camp or rocket camp, space camp, I think, and he's got like the recording playing. Yeah, I don't know. They take some time to explain why he's there, but just. No, apparently Lucky's there for some reason, even though she worked at like a restaurant in the last movie. I don't know.
See, I feel like the things that worked were really positive steps. Like the note I have about the ghost, the chest ghost.
Yeah, that was great. I like that.
Nice variation on the Montague Capulet trope. It was like Cody was bringing up, having a ghost that, she threatens to, there's one time in the diner where she threatens to, trap her or whatever. Yeah, shoot her. And it turns out that there's this like double cross thing going on with the ghost. And that was really cool. I'd like more. Glad
they introduced her character because I was worried they were going to bring back Harold Ramis again because she played chess with him in Afterlife, and I'm like, oh god, don't you fuck! And then no, they did something else entirely, and so I like that. Yeah.
So am I too far off in thinking that the people that are throwing a hissy fit about this is because of the lesbian thing that isn't really a lesbian thing?
I think TikTok is where I've seen that kind of go wild more so than even than Twitter, but like I don't know, maybe if I watch the movie again, maybe that is intended somewhere, but to me it was very platonic. Like I feel like we're in an age where people can't just be platonic anymore. Like you always have to reach for more of it. Like I feel like they would make an overt statement if it's going to be, especially a Hollywood movie nowadays. So I've seen a lot of things on TikTok where it's just like they're using clips of both of them back together, and like it's this new cool thing, and then of course then people respond to that the way that they do if they haven't seen the movie more so than anything, where they're like, what, that's in the movie?
But this is the same franchise where you had it. First of all, it's a ghost and a human, so not really whatever, however you want to treat that. But this is the same franchise where Dan Aykroyd got head from a ghost. That was okay,
but that was a female ghost. So.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Again, a different type of movie. Like they're not doing anything like that in this, but it is played somewhat, I wouldn't say ambiguous, but like you could read into it more if you want to, or you can read into it that like, she just knew her grandfather is a ghost. She knows ghosts like exist. She has empathetic relationships with them. She could actually be interested in this person's experience, but you can also look at it as romance if you really want to, but I don't know. It didn't bother me.
It also had, conservative business owner aspects to it too, with like the age restriction, not being able to work and all that. Like that's
labor laws.
Right. It's very conservative business owner. Like a lot of that element, like the fact that she couldn't work, it like you said, labor law. To me, it felt like it was. If you want to look into subtext, which is not something that I would say by any stretch, but. I mean, if you're going to complain about the lesbian arc that isn't a lesbian arc, why wouldn't you champion the fact that it's pro business owners and restrictions within how difficult it is to be a business owner when they're.
First of all, anytime two women are on screen together talking and they're not talking about men, they're lesbians. So you're wrong. You're wrong. Right there. But also, Ghostbusters has always had a bit of a conservative stint to it, and that's kind of why it's fun. It's one of the I'm a liberal tard guy as they come, but it's kind of fun when there's a movie that I like with conservative themes to it.
Right.
Like Ghostbusters or Nobody a few years ago with Bob Odenkirk. I adored that movie.
Craig S. Zoller does some incredible. Right themed things as well.
Right, yeah. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just
So conservative movies are just ones that kick ass. Is that what we're
basically
what we're going with here? Yeah. Whoa, he fucking hit that guy. Roadhouse.
Yeah.
I don't know how big of an issue that was, like widespread. I'm just saying that's the only commentary that I've seen online with a movie that seemed to have just kind of came and went, and nobody really discussed it. Is just like TikTok and a few things on Twitter, just keeping that one specific thing going. But that's again maybe putting a spotlight on very small group of people.
Also,
Yeah.
But it never entered my head when I was watching the movie. Like it genuinely never did.
No.
I mean, it could also just be, a genuine lonely girl who got moved to a new city, who doesn't know anybody, who literally is by herself. Somebody's taking interest in her. Like, I don't know. You can do it on a bunch of different levels. What I saw as more of a romance was like every time Dan Aykroyd was around anything paranormal or explaining anything about it.
He's trying to chase that blowjob again. He's like, man,
yeah,
that's the best I ever had. What's in this fucking orb? Is it a sheep?
Yeah.
So was it obvious to anyone else, by the way, that last match, I clocked that very early, that last match was going to be used?
We got a Fire Master, and she's got one magical match that's
right.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So it's not just me. Like big ice ghost. Okay.
They had me at the proton pack, though. I didn't think that was going to be a thing. But fair enough. Proton, same thing as fire. We're good.
Sure.
Oh yeah. When they did the bronze or whatever whatever the hell.
That totally lost me. I mean, come on. She's using cast iron to try and smelt bronze, and it's from the pole that then two of them slide down later. How many poles do they have in this firehouse? Because Paul Rudd uses one, and I think it's Kumail uses the other one right after she cut the pole. Yeah. But on top of that, you need 1710 degrees to melt brass. You can't do that anywhere there. They need, but fair enough. I'll let it go. Movie logic.
We got Neil deGrasse Tyson joining us today.
Yeah.
One thing that bugged the heck out of me was
hold on. I have a joke. The wattage that the ghost containment unit, there's no way that was under code. So do you have a problem with the wattage that was being used by the ghost containment unit?
I mean, I would like it if it's up to code, but fair enough. I'll let that go.
Sorry.
I was watching 50 First Dates with my kids today, and my son, he's always tries to be a brainiac. He comes up, he goes, if her brain resets 24 hours on the dot, what if she's up in the middle of the night, and how does she not notice the seasons changed? And I'm like, it's a fucking Sandler movie. Shut up.
Doesn't she forget English if it's only 24 hours? How would she know the language?
Never logic the Sandler.
I'm sorry, Lindsay. We all stamped all over you.
You forgot. Okay. I think one of my biggest issues with this movie is actually the fact that they kind of needed magic to defeat the ghosts, because Ghostbusters has always also been science beating the supernatural, and the fact that they needed a fire wizard this time around to kind of win. I don't know, that's not weird with me.
I've never fought a frost wizard before, but that's is a good point for a movie called Ghostbusters. How many ghosts do they bust in this movie? There's one that happens off screen where they leave the girl behind and they all go to some sort of ghost emergency, but we don't really get to see what happens there. But
it opens.
I don't know. Maybe the dragon is it, but
it might be it,
who else gets trapped? And then that chase, I got issues with that too. Not only does it feel like the one from the previous movie, but aren't the packs supposed to hold and maybe this is a dragon, so it can move more, but isn't it supposed to hold them in place so that they can trap them? But instead they're just destroying buildings as they're booking it down the street. I don't know.
You might need that.
They could go smaller.
No,
I just mean with the busting. My favorite part was when they're going after Slimer in the first one. I don't think we need a dragon in the middle of downtown, but it's not my movie.
I don't disagree with you, but I think they're trying to please everyone with having the old crew, having some form of CGI element, some big extravagant chase or whatever the fuck, and then they're trying to, when people are basically, what I'm accusing it of is being a remake every time. This platonic love story thing, this friendship. With the ghost, I felt like that was the most endearing, positive thing to take from that. What was that?
I said it could have been.
I felt like it was enough. I just who is it that said it felt like it could have been a better TV show? Was that Gray or Gray?
I think that was me. I wish they would give each time to those, because I didn't hate any of the plot things, but too many of them shoved into one and not any of them given enough time is what it felt like to me.
Yeah. I agree with that. I feel like that, that that platonic friend story would be a hell of a filler episode, or or two or whatever, just devote time to that. I mean, it's like you said, Cody, too, though. Slimer and Finn, not necessarily needed. It's just like, here, look, the thing that you want on a poster and toys of. It just.
How else would you get rid of the possessor, though? Like, you need Slimer there to eat that pizza.
Well, first of all, why has he got to be in a pizza? I mean, like, let's start right there.
New York, baby.
That's true. That's true.
Shots fired.
Was anyone else also kind of surprised that the possessor was evil? Because like the guy's talking about, hey, I'll give you a tennis ball, and then the possessor seems like he's happy about it, but then later he's trying to end the world. It's like, what side are you on, possessor? Like,
wow, you guys are like next level. Second guessing this movie. Holy shit! Maybe I haven't sat on it enough. All right, that's the other thing.
There's a lot that I liked, but I was kind of bored through a lot of it, so my mind wandered. Like, yeah,
same. My kids all enjoyed it. I can tell you that.
Okay.
So I think maybe it's working more for them versus some of us that grew up with the original. But I don't know. Sean really liked it.
Now.
Sean was like,
Sean did like it a lot.
Kind of like shocked at some of the negative reviews, and I walked into it expecting to like it much more than I did because I was more positive on Afterlife than most people, and then I walked out like, oh man.
All right, so I guess I'm the inverse of that because I expected it to be an absolute shit show, and I was like, all right, I was okay with that, but I don't know how to gauge
that far off. I think it's my third favorite Ghostbuster film out of the 5, but I'd put Afterlife just under it. So I don't know. But I really like 2, even though I understand why people hate 2. Like, it's not great.
I like 2.
What were you going to say, Cody?
Okay.
No, I'm saying it's the same. It's my third favorite, but I really don't. I don't like 2016, and I really don't care for 2. So there's technically only 3 that I do like to some degree.
Fair enough. I get why people don't like 2. I think I had that one on DVD, so I watched that one like way too much as a kid. But I love that film. Like the soundtrack alone is great.
I had a babysitter growing up who had Ghostbusters too, so I just watched it every time she.
And the painting, man, that painting is creepy.
It's spooky.
But I think that's one thing that this one kind of let me down on was the soundtrack. Like I was expecting a little bit more. Like you don't even have like that fun, like I don't know what you call it, but kind of jaunty music that you have all throughout like the first one. For this one, like when there's some creepy stuff, it gets pretty good. But other than that, it just is kind of forgettable. Like
I thought it was basically like a copycat of the first score.
It doesn't have the like fun jauntiness to it that like kind of as he's like investigating her apartment or just kind of going about his daily business. Venkman, a lot of it has that kind of jaunty piano based music. I don't know. I missed that in this one. I wanted something a little bit more upbeat, and it just kind of was bland until there was like the haunting scenes for me. But maybe I do need to listen to the soundtrack a little bit more. I'm
kind of done with the trailers. Like this is beating the dead horse at this point, but the teaser, that's all third act shit. The Manhattan freezing over, that's the third act. Like that's the big boss battle. It's right before the end. It's like, what? Yeah. That was the teaser.
Yeah, and that's part of the weird. That's part of the issue with having too much in the movie, because I feel like that could have been an interesting thing where the first act, New York gets frozen, and then they're trying to navigate what to do while it's basically under siege for the rest of the movie.
That would have been sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's like the last 20 minutes.
Like,
yeah.
We're frozen. Never mind. He's dead.
Now I'm forgetting what they call it. Ferris wheel scene. Like, I feel like I've seen that like a million times. Like, I don't know.
It definitely has what's his face vibes. Day After Tomorrow guy. Yeah.
Roland Emmerich.
Emmerich, that's it. Yeah.
Same city and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. Is anybody like really a big fan of the Ghostbusters movies? Because
I loved the first two, and I loved how they the only real thing was the real Ghostbusters, and then I mean they did Extreme Ghostbusters a little bit after that, but I loved how they kind of let the property sit. It wasn't overdone like a lot of these other ones, and then now it's going to be we're going to get what is it, Buster Corpse, Ghost Corpse? I can't remember exactly what they called it.
Oh, the
studio
productions, Ghost Corpse.
Yeah,
but corpse.
Yeah.
I mean, the second they had that production house name in 2016, you knew that they were going to do something further, because why have that? And again, it's Sony, Sony Columbia, so
it's definitely lost value in my eyes, like whatever you want to call that, sentimental value, since they've kind of done this. But I don't know. I was a huge proponent of it. It was one of my favorite things. I even had like a Slimer big wheel when I was a kid. Like I was raised on this thing like that. It was my jam, but I'm not that excited about this. Like, I just happened to see it because I was tagging along to it. Otherwise, I don't think I would have even seen this in theater.
So
I remember there was a Ecto 1 at Toys R Us, and I wanted that fucking thing so bad, and my stupid psychotic kid brain was just like, you didn't buy that for me. Now my world sucks. I never get anything I want.
Definitely.
I'm oppressed.
So if they, I mean, the line at the end, the golden years, it really felt like, well, and you have a point that they kind of did that in Afterlife. It felt like they're kind of trying to tell us, guys, listen, Bill Murray didn't want to do one of these movies. He was in 3 of them. Is the crew strong enough to walk away from Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray? Like,
I think they could have been if they would have focused on him more in this movie. I was ready for that. I was ready for them to go full new territory. I was bought in, but this one couldn't decide what it wanted to do. It couldn't decide who was more important, and everybody gets a moment. Everybody gets a storyline, and I think it made the movie worse. So I think you can do Ghostbusters without them, but it has to be a good movie. Otherwise, that's the first thing people are going to blame. Oh, so you fucking bring them back. It sucked.
That's kind of my big issue with Afterlife too. Like, I did like Afterlife quite a bit up until about the 3rd act, when it just kind of just went full member berries. Well, actually, I think the moment I stopped liking it was when J.K. Simmons showed up just to instantly die, and then it kind of went off the rails from there. But maybe that's just me.
Wait, J.K. Simmons?
Yeah. He was he was the guy in like the glass case that came back to life for like 2 seconds and just instantly died.
I apparently just completely wiped that from my memory.
Wait, am I wrong? Is that not him? Hold on.
No, it's him. He played Ivo Shandor. You're totally right.
Okay,
he was in there.
I was going crazy.
I just wiped it from my mind.
I don't
that's
think he was
weird, 'cause I even
alive.
watched it like a month ago, so I don't know. It's weird.
Like I think that people want their cake and eat it too, where Cody, you kind of hinted at it. If the movie's just mediocre, they'll complain. See, you didn't have the original Ghostbusters. That's why this movie sucks. We're not interested in this. And then at the same time, here we are second guessing, saying, well, just move on from it. And people need to shut the fuck up, I think. Myself included.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, the name is recognizable. Can you, I mean, if Indiana Jones was redone with, I don't know, somebody in his 30s, 40s, 50s, it would have, I don't know. I don't know what would have happened, but it just feels like, these people were stars in their 30s, 40 years ago. And it's just not, you want to talk about Gen Z going to see a movie. They don't want to watch fucking senior citizens saving the day. I hate to.
Well, even then, like, isn't Paul Rudd like in his 50s now or something too? So it's not. I mean,
he's going on 29.
Yeah, I mean, like, don't get me wrong,
35.
Paul Rudd is awesome. I would love to look like that dude, but I don't know. Like, even then, they're not really heading on to the young ones. Like, I don't feel like they had Finn Wolfhard do anything in this one. He fixes something in the car, like in the very beginning, and that's about it. But I mean, Phoebe more. She again smelted brass. That was pretty cool. But yeah,
and that actress is, I don't know, 37 now, because they filmed that before the outbreak.
Like 18 or something, but still, yes. They did sit on that movie for like 3 years, so yes, there is quite an age up since the last one.
I wish I didn't see photos of her at the premiere before seeing the movie, and I was like, oh yeah, I could totally tell she's 20. This is bullshit. But I don't think if I knew that after the fact, because I was looking at pictures, I'm like, who the hell is the blonde? Oh, the little girl. Okay, what? But yeah, like,
she's a couple of years younger. I think she's supposed to be 15, and I think she's 18 now. So It's closer than I thought, but you're right. That's a lot of years that you're playing this young teen. So interesting.
They kind of, I don't know why. They did have like tiered humor in this, where they had the sex jokes for the teenage kids, and then, or excuse me, the older teenage kids, and then the mid-tier teenagers. It was very, let's play chess and joke about not being old enough to hang out with the employees. It was very interesting. Like, you can't please everybody, because if you're trying to play to the kids, you still have that sex dungeon humor in there, where they're going to ask questions like, why did the older people laugh at that? So like,
yeah, I mean, references to those are all over TikTok, so they don't need to ask. They got it. Yeah, it is kind of interesting for sure. I don't know why they went so soft in some areas and then so hard in others. It is kind of interesting.
What has been your estimation of the feedback on your review, Cody?
The review didn't really get a whole lot of comments, which is usually my indicator that it's not really a big conversation piece. Not to say that like everybody comes to me, but it's I can tell a massive difference between all of the other movies that I've reviewed, even the indie ones, versus the conversation that was surrounding Ghostbusters. And Ghostbusters was mostly kind of most people were in the middle. Like, yeah, it was okay. This, that, there was a couple of people with the extreme, like, dog shit's horrible. And then there was a couple of people that are like, I really liked it. I don't know what the deal is, but most of it's kind of in the middle.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like this is a nice stepping stone, but I guess you're right. I would have said the same thing for Afterlife. Like, okay, this is good. Now move from here, because the pros are here, but the cons are, too much. If anything, it's just
elements of it that are really cool though. Like, I love the opening scene with like what is it, like almost Victorian era. Like,
1909 or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, like, I don't know. And it's the dude who did like Monster House and a bunch of other things as the director. I don't know. I wanted a little bit more, but yeah, it does have a bunch of highs, but
wouldn't you rather want more than, well, yeah, I was going to say than want less, but I do kind of want, there's too much. And
yeah,
I guess there's, to paraphrase, yeah, you can't use those initials when you're paraphrasing that. Troy, thank you for the super chat.
To put it into context, so my 10 most recent videos, the only video that has performed worse than Ghostbusters is my review for Village of the Damned from 1995. Everything else has far eclipsed Ghostbusters as far as interest level.
That is on the tip of everybody's tongue right now. 1996's Village of the Damned. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how to take that. So Gray, if they did a Ghostbusters, we're seriously on our own this time, without even a cameo from any of the OG crew, would you be excited for that?
Yeah, I think so. I think even if you cut them for the most part out of this, like, you could definitely, I don't know, there's so many plot lines and they're involved in a few of them, but it feels like if you cut them out of the end and it's just the parents getting frozen or whatever, you'd have kind of the same exact thing. Like, the only thing they do is flip the switch in the basement, but they already had like McKenna down there for no reason. So I don't know. It feels like you could have cut them out of this and it still would have worked. But I would watch it, but I'm not sure how many more I would watch it. But I definitely give them a try. I don't have the confidence there. Like, I feel like the last one, Afterlife, was very much kind of like the latest Star Wars reboot, where they're just kind of rehashing the first one.
Heartstrings, yeah.
Yeah. Sadly, I don't think this one was all that much different. I was hoping for different, but it's not bad. It's just not. There's a lot of no start for me here. I guess I wanted a little bit less in what we got, but Yeah, man, I would watch the next one, but I'm not super champing at the bit for it. I'd be okay streaming it. I don't think I'm going to run out and see it first week in the theater.
Yeah, there are three things. Go ahead, Lindsay.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I'm noticing a theme here where they were talking about multiple Sony movies here today. Like they just want the franchise, they just want the IP.
Yeah.
Like they like the what it is, what it's about, what they're doing with it doesn't matter. They'll just change it on at a moment's notice or just add in more stuff. It's like I can't imagine working for Sony right now. It's got to just be like one of the more frustrating studios to work for. I think because the way that they seem to be prioritizing things. Like maybe I'm wrong with that, but.
Well, what I've heard is a lot of people really want to work with Sony because they're the only studio that has been like hardcore against diminishing the theater experience. They're not giving very good theater experience lately, but they're not jumping on like, making their own streaming service and stuff like that. So it's kind of a weird double-edged sword there.
That's interesting.
And it's mixed to be as polite as possible about Ghostbusters, but there are three things that I feel like that are like seeds in this movie that can possibly be watered and turn into something with a sequel. It's the family aspect of Paul Rudd and them. I really enjoyed that, even though it didn't really have much to do with Ghostbusters, but it was a nice little family drama that it helped flesh things out. The Phoebe, that whole thing, the angle with the friend who's a ghost, you can kind of play with that with people who are alone, or constantly on the internet. There's like, you can explore that a bit further. Somebody who only feels comfortable speaking to somebody who isn't there, quote unquote.
Sure. And in the last movie, that she had that relationship with Harold Ramis, so it's not like it's she's just suddenly befriending a ghost. She has a history of it.
Yeah,
so
she did the Ghost Whisperer.
Yeah.
And the other thing that like I felt like they can build off of is the fact that they had like the black outfit, the tech crew, the geek
new
squad
guys,
for,
James Acaster, and I can't remember the other ones, but yeah,
you have like you could expand. You go to that aquarium, and now you don't technically have to be at that damn firehouse. Where I mean, I get it. It's neat. You could sell toys of it, but do you want new shit, or you just want old things with, I don't know, paint over it? It's just really strange.
And where was that? So sorry, the James Acaster, I guess his character was Lars Pinfield. Where was he, like, that whole last part? Like, he gets attacked by that rolling slime thing, and then he's just nowhere for the entire finale, and then he shows up at the end kind of wet.
I was amazed he lived past when he grabbed the orb, and it was supposedly
I thought his hand was going to be gone, but just
right. And then they like straight up say it's at like actual zero or absolute zero or something. Like, no, bro, I'm sorry, he's dead. I liked him, but no, you can't touch something absolute zero and live. Like, it's not happening. I guess that's my copper melting point moment.
But yeah, I think just that last battle shows there were too many people. Like, they just had people just disappear for it. Like, for times you just don't know where podcast is, suddenly he pops up.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think they could have cut the cast down a little bit. Like, show those other guys in the next one. Then it becomes even more of a member berry or whatever. This guy was in 2 movies ago.
It did feel a bit Avengers Endgame, where it's just like, all right, how many people are Ghostbusters here? What the hell is going on? Cody, this upcoming week, April 5th, do you know what the Untitled M. Night movie is?
Is it him or his daughter? Because his daughter's got a movie coming out.
Oh, I did hear about his daughter's movie.
April 5th.
And it looks, I mean, you'd think it was a M. Night Shyamalan. I mean, I don't know. I don't think that's coming out this week. The First Omen is the big new release this week.
That's limited, and Monkey Man is the wide for the week.
Yeah, that other one. Yeah. I don't have the Shyamalan movie on my radar for this month at all. I think that's later on in the year, unless there's maybe a screening somewhere that you're looking at. But he's got a movie coming out this year, and his daughter's got one.
Yeah, Trap looks like his next one, which is August 2nd, but I'm not sure.
Is his daughter named like Michelle or Monique?
Also Night after that.
The Watchers is what it's called.
Date? Because it says Mojo has it on the 5th, which is this week.
I did find an article from October of last year saying that a studio had dated an M. Night movie for 5th of April of this year.
That's what I'm referring.
Well, I apologize, but The Watchers is set to hit the U.S. theaters on June 7th. You're seeing August 2nd. I'm seeing June 7th.
Trap is August 2nd.
Oh no, sorry.
Yeah.
The
Watchers is his daughter's.
Yeah. Okay, I apologize.
Wait, which one?
But hers is also Night. She's I Night Shyamalan, not M Night.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Huh. Ishana
Night.
Thank
Indeed.
you, Troy. Interesting.
Cool.
That's Shyamalan, man. He keeps steady fucking working, doesn't he? Like a movie a year at this point.
Yeah.
Wish I liked it, but yeah, good for him.
What's the buzz on the first Omen, Cody?
People on Twitter seem to be really going nuts for it, which is kind of surprising, but I don't really take much value in early reactions on Twitter anymore because they're all that way. So please quote me. But from what I'm hearing, I think Sean said this, that he saw Immaculate at South by Southwest with somebody that had already seen the first Omen at a screening and basically said they're almost the exact same movie.
Oh.
So I don't know if me seeing Immaculate first is going to affect my experience with it. I don't have any interest in an Omen prequel, but maybe my low interest will make me be a little surprised. But
cool.
What is that little subtitle number that I cannot read on the screens over here? It's like a Roman numeral or something. The first Omen, and there's like a tiny little.
Oh, is it 4? It's like 5 or 6 or something, isn't it? Isn't that what it is?
Maybe it's
BC
the date.
15 or something.
Probably the date.
Maybe it's a date. Yeah. It says limited. Well, it says limited. It also says M. Night movie coming out on Friday. So, kick rocks, box office mojo. But Monkey Man, I don't know how to properly figure that out because
I hear buzz on it, but I hear it was not necessarily marketed correctly because it looks like a John Wick type, and apparently it's not.
Yeah, same guy. My buddy Sean saw it at South by Southwest, and every time he talks about it, like in his videos, he actively says this is not a John Wick ripoff. Like they just picked all of the imagery to give it that, all the scenes with that very specific imagery to give it that tone, but it's so not that. So I think that might be one of those cases where the cinema score is going to be pretty shit because everybody's going to walk in thinking John Wick, and it's not that. And
yeah. Sean, I think he said it on this podcast. He said it that it's kind of slow. It takes a bit to build to something, and
dives into Indian culture and a whole bunch of things. And like, yeah, he fights people in a suit in a nightclub at one point, but it's not like the point of the movie, I guess.
Best of luck, American audience.
Yeah. I don't imagine that one taken off beyond film Twitter.
No,
it's the guy from Community in it, right? Or is it
Dev Patel?
Dev Patel, that's who it is. So not
he directed it too, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, and Jordan Peele is the producer, so that's instant. Spread the word. Jordan Peele's name?
Okay.
That's not true. My name's not Brian. I'm okay with Jordan Peele. Brian, however.
Brian doesn't like Jordan Peele?
No.
It's kind of a running gag.
I'm just saying, those are some classic sketches, man.
Comedy, and Brian doesn't know comedy, so there's another point against.
I can't see the name Aaron like the same anymore. Even now, I wanted to say
Aaron.
Yeah. Like I'm sorry, man. He's been associated with some great stuff in the past.
Sure. Film Twitter, horror Twitter seems to get a little out of touch with things. The hyperbole gets a little heavy in horror Twitter, where it's just like, all right.
Oh, they were deep throating him hard after Get Out.
Yeah.
They were like, are we ready to admit he's the next Carpenter? It's like, he's had one movie, bitch. Take a fucking chill pill.
Osgood Perkins' next movie, Long Legs, looks good. Micah Monroe and Nick Cage.
That's a good guess.
Indeed. Aren't they doing it? It Follows?
next year.
They follow. Oh, it got pushed back again.
Well, I don't think it was ever dated for this year. I think that was. I mean, I could be wrong. I seem to remember that being one of my little goodies to pull out of the bag to try to entice Brian for this October, and then I was like, oh fuck, it's not coming out this year. Never mind. Give me that one back.
See, I feel like junk cotton candy, otherwise known as Godzilla X Kong, making $80 million is positive for the theater industry, but then we're going to get the effects, the after effects of the strikes at some point, I would say halfway through the summer, and it's probably going to hurt more than it's going to help. So, like, I don't know what I mean. Dune 2 was done beforehand. So some of these movies, whatever they have left on the slate that's coming out before the strike, sure. But I feel like that luck is going to run out whenever we hit that pocket that the strike was happening.
I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of hoping.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm kind of hoping that last year, them cramming so much shit into one movie year and losing a lot of money is kind of going to make them spread out what they have a little bit. Maybe we won't really feel it as much. So like last year, I remember it was like every fucking week was 2 major new releases, and it was Jesus trying to keep up with that. And this year, I mean, up until this month, it's felt like nothing has been coming out. This month, it was a lot of indie stuff, so I had a lot of stuff to watch. But I'm kind of hoping the pacing will be better. Yeah, the pacing will be better. Kind of hoping the pacing will be better this year going forward, and maybe we won't feel that void. We'll see.
Cool.
We'll feel it on TV long before we feel it in movies.
Oh yeah. Especially because I remember when Lost had the writer strike. They just cut the season. You'll get the next half.
There's a whole bunch of those. Breaking Bad, a bunch of them. Like, why was this season only 4 episodes long? What the fuck is this?
It's funny you bring up Lost. Actually, I've got a new obsession TV show called From. That's actually by a bunch of the people that did Lost, and it's got a lot of Lost DNA in it. Like, instead of a plane crashing onto an island, it's like an RV crashing outside the spooky town where spooky things happen every night, and it's got a lot of the same kind of approach to things. And I've been wondering, like, because like season 3 is supposed to have been out already. How affected is that going to be by that? But also, like, what's going to be our the 2007 writer strike gave us some of the worst movies ever made. Transformers 2, Quantum of Solace. Even if it's grown on me, it's still not a good movie. Like, what's going to be the really bad movies that we're going to get as a result of this? I almost can't wait, honestly.
Yay, bad movies.
Oh, I enjoy half-baked things that are like trying to do too much for their own good. That's kind of why I like Quantum of Solace. Like it's about, water crises, and that wasn't really a thing back in 2008, but in 2024, there's countries that are having serious water crises. So it's aged well, but at the time it was kind of terrible, and it still is in a lot of ways.
Excellent question, Jacob. That's 2 weeks. I'll bury the marketing aspect of it, but Brian and I are scheduled to go see Civil War together. So to keep up with the theme of Civil War.
Nice.
That'll be fun. Okay. I want to see that.
That is a heck of a question, because Sean did, I don't know if he said it elsewhere, but he said it here, that you don't really know what the politics of the movie is. And it's more, what happens when that happens. And
it's going to depend on if the conversation is dominated by people who actually see the movie or people that watch the trailer.
Oh, so it's going to be the hunt all over again. Yay.
Yes.
Also, I'm not going to lie, I'm fascinated with Civil War because I want to see what happens in this world to make California and Texas best friends while the entire rest of the country hates themselves. Like, I want that story. Yeah, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I'm curious.
Joe Rogan united them.
Makes sense.
So has there been any anything on Civil War? I've been kind of in the dark with that.
And we got a lot of really good buzz out of South by Southwest.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the only thing I've heard. It's been kind of silent since then, as far as I've heard. Like, as far as the political.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, I'm at a point where film festival buzz and early reaction buzz, like I'm curious of it, and then I kind of block it out because it's very easy to. I hope the movie's good, but it's very easy to forget that a lot of these reactions that come out so praiseworthy from film festivals, like they're at a film festival in these badass theaters 10 feet from the cast, and like there's so many things that make it this cool experience that elevates it that, you know, regular people walking in and out of a theater aren't going to have. So we'll see, but
that's fair.
That's why you very rarely hear people shit on a movie that they see on film festivals. Like even Indiana Jones, like it's like you got a standing ovation, and then all of a sudden the movie comes out and everybody's like, "Oh,
yeah." So did Clerks too.
Yeah,
fucking 17-minute standing ovation. Let's take it easy.
But it pulled at the heartstrings.
For 17 minutes.
They learned their lesson in jail.
I always wonder when I hear about that. It's like something has to be stopping them from sitting, right? Did someone go and put a bunch of thumbtacks on all the seats? Like
Dude,
how do you just stand?
I think it's just one asshole who won't stop, and they're like, "Well, fuck, I don't want to be the douche." Now I'm just like, "I've clapped enough. Fuck your movie." Like, well, I think that's what it is. It's somebody's like, "Watch this shit. I'll make him go for 22 minutes."
It's usually Cannes or Rome. Right. Those are the two ones. It's like, oh, you had a really long standing ovation. Did Halloween Ends get a really long standing ovation? Okay.
I want to see a video of like the star, like being like, "Okay, fuck, my legs hurt."
Yeah, that's hard to predict what the reaction's going to be based on a standing ovation.
Yeah,
especially knowing our history of it all. Okay, well, we've been on for 2.5 hours. Thank you.
You've been on for 2.5 hours.
Thank you, Cody, for joining us for the spoiler portion. What do you got coming up there?
Well, I'm going to Louisiana on Wednesday for the Overlook Film Festival. I'm planning on seeing Abigail, Cuckoo, In a Violent Nature. What is the one? Infested. A bunch of horror movies are premiering over there, so that should be cool. But I've got Off the Shelves episode, which is like a Blu-ray haul, coming tomorrow. I've got something pretty cool dropping on Wednesday, which is the day I'm going to be driving, which is it's like a pilot episode for a show that I've been working on for a little while. I'll tell everybody a little bit more about that probably tomorrow on a post. And then it's going to depend on my time and what I actually am able to see at this festival, what comes after that. Because this is not like a Fantastic Fest where you're able to like select your tickets ahead of time. You have to go stand in line, and when they run out of room, you're just like, the rest of you gotta look next time. So
kick rocks.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see what happens with that, but hopefully I'll be able to see everything that I want to see, and we'll get some content out.
Fingers crossed for you, man.
Linzo.
The most immediate thing on my channel is I'm working on a video for Winnie the Pooh 2 Electric Honolulu. We'll see if I get that out or not soon here. But also coming up this Saturday, I'm doing a Star Trek stream with friend of the channel Bob, talking about the first mates in Star Trek. So yeah, you know, if you're a fan of Star Trek, check that out.
Awesome.
Oh yeah.
Gray.
Yeah. Sure. So I should have a video dropping soon, and then on my second channel there should be a bunch of reviews dropping soon. But yeah, you can check me out, and usually Charles on That Darn Kidda's channel. Every Thursday morning there's The Thinkers. It's a diverse group of people who butt heads civilly on different situations. So yeah, quite fun. Check us out there.
Indeed. And thank you for everybody taking part this week. We got a rotating set of guests, but some more permanent than others. And just stay tuned for next week. We'll I can't find it. Shit. Stall.
While you're stalling in the chat, Scott V, that is the Kurt Vonnegut poster for Slaughterhouse 5. Good eyes, or even have a backboard. It's in my mirror. Yeah.
Could you get the closer? Say goodnight.
Oh, bye.